waterboarding.
They're talking about wakeboarding.
The thing about wakeboarding, every trick is an invert.
Backside.
One side, air railings.
A new dimension.
We're back with another episode of the Grab Matters podcast. Today we have Felix. I don't know how to say your last name.
Georgie,
Georgie.
I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good and easy enough.
In German, I say Georgi,
Georgi.
but as we're in the States now, it's Georgie.
Georgie. What is your favorite grab?
My favorite grab is probably a crail. I don't know. They're fun.
Flexible.
Especially on the wakeboard. On a snowboard, I feel like I'm not flexible enough, or I don't even know why, but on a wakeboard, they're fun.
Okay, crail.
Into banks, especially.
Oh, yeah. Anything into banks. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the best, right?
But this one, you kind of tweak, and then you kind of land right into the bank. Like, because you tweak it that way, it's my favorite grab.
All right. That's a solid one. Haven't heard that one before. Wake pants, yes or no?
I have been wearing them, but I would say no. I do prefer just riding in board tours. Wakeboarding is a summer sport, so let's make it look like summer.
Okay. But if you throw the wetsuit on,
Yeah, if it's a
Okay.
full suit and you're filming, I do put on wake pants. I have been wearing wake pants at the frozen lake wake lake thing from Red Bull,
yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. That was a good video.
and but therefore I feel like it looked a lot better.
Yeah.
Full suit wakeboarding without wake pants doesn't look so great.
Not at all.
But I do prefer just wearing a shorty or no wetsuit,
Just
preferably in boardies.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on that same page. Let's jump into the early days. So I don't know a whole lot about your early days pre-wakeboarding and then getting into wakeboarding. We were talking a little bit before the podcast about those days. So let's just, I'll just let you run with it, those early days.
So I kind of started skating and snowboarding like way before wakeboarding. So when I was 6, I started skating and snowboarding, and through snowboarding, I met Nico and like people that snowboarded but also wakeboarded around my area. And that's how I kind of realized there's something else than skateboarding for like the summer season. And I did always look for something that's similar to snowboarding. And that's how I kind of got introduced to wakeboarding. And they had the German championships at my home cable, like right before I started wakeboarding. But I went to go look or just watch it for like a couple hours. And I really liked it. And it was like, oh, this kind of looks similar to snowboarding. And I feel like I could adapt a lot from snowboarding. So that's how I kind of got introduced to that. And then knowing Nico and a bunch of other kids from around there that I knew from the winter season already, it was just nicer to be there at the wake park where I had groms around me in my age than the skate park where I was always the youngest, like by far the youngest.
Okay. So you met Nico and then some others when you were super young snowboarding. What wake park was that that's by you?
That's Inselsee Allgäu. Still my home cable park. It's 10 minutes from my home. It is in the mountains. For me personally, the most beautiful cable, one of the most beautiful cables in the world. Mountain background, I don't know, just a nice vibe around there. Yeah, and that's where I still ride when I'm at home. It's not like the greatest setup, but it's super fun to be at home, having a cable so close to, my place.
Yeah.
And after, like, that's kind of how I got into wakeboarding. But then, like, I was always just focused on snowboarding. And when I was 10 or something, I told my parents, like, I want to be a pro. Back then, I thought about snowboarding mainly. But wakeboarding kind of evolved a little better and easier for me. And that's how I got better in wakeboarding and somehow ended up on Red Bull. And that's also like how I kind of made the decision, like, okay, I probably shouldn't put too much effort into snowboarding anymore.
Okay.
I should focus on wakeboarding.
Before we jump into that, so from 6 years old, it sounds like all winter snowboarding, all summer wakeboarding for the most part.
Well, in the beginning, skating, and then I started wakeboarding when I was 11,
Okay.
10, 11. Or 10, I probably went to the cable first time, went water skiing, went maybe on the wakeboard a few times, but it was always only on like hourly tickets. And I think with 11 or 12, I had my first season pass.
Okay, so we were talking a bit earlier, and you said that you didn't come from kind of a bunch of money in the sense that you go wakeboarding a couple of times, your parents go, hey, here's a season pass, go have fun.
Yeah, no, not really. It was I kind of had to, sure, I got the money from my parents, obviously, but I always had to do something for it. I don't know if it's chopping wood or clean my room or whatever. I was lucky enough that I was the only child that really wanted to do all these action sports, like quite expensive sports as well. So my parents could afford it to give me a season pass, buy me some gear for snowboarding and wakeboarding. But I was always on the shittiest stuff in the beginning, obviously. I think my first own wakeboard was 150 euros, board and binding. It was like a hydro slide or whatever. I've never heard that brand until now ever again. But it worked. It was a board that I started with, and it was fun, and I could finally hit obstacles without having to worry about breaking other people's stuff. And yeah.
Okay, so you're snowboarding, wakeboarding. At what age do you get attention from snowboarding or wakeboarding sponsors?
So my first sponsors were in snowboarding.
Okay.
Around 12, 13, I started riding for this board shop or a skate shop in my area, Five Skate Shop it was called back then. And through this and a guy that was a skier in our area who was working for Smith and Rossignol and Quicksilver, he kind of gave me the hookup with Smith and Rossignol for a little bit, or quite a while actually. And then he also brought me on Quicksilver, but that was all for snowboarding. And then Quicksilver kind of realized after a little bit that I'm okay in wakeboarding, and I went to nationals after a little bit and did all these little contests, and also filmed in summer quite a bit, like very shitty old school wakeboarding, but
you're doing both, and they're seeing that.
Yeah, exactly. And so Quicksilver kind of hooked it up in wakeboarding as well, with gear obviously only.
Okay.
And that was like the time where I was like, okay, I just want to do both. There is a Sean White who can be snowboarder and skater, so why can I not be wakeboarder and snowboarder? Yeah, that's how I got introduced to my first sponsors. And then wakeboarding, my first sponsor was O'Brien. I went to the nationals first time ever, and after nationals they hit me up and were like, you want to ride our boards? And I was like, hell yeah, free boards for sure.
Okay, so I mean, I feel like there has to be a turning point in terms of you got to kind of pick snowboarding or wakeboarding. And how's that path evolve, I guess? Because you're doing both. You got some sponsors in snowboarding, some sponsors in wakeboarding. How's that path evolve to pick one?
I think, sure, I kind of felt that my wakeboard career was on a better path to be an international rider, but I didn't make up my opinion until Red Bull messaged me, and I met up with the team manager, and he was like, hey, we want you for wakeboarding. Like, my first question in that meeting was, are we talking about snowboard or wakeboard? I don't even know. And that was the time when I was like, okay, well, I kind of knew it in the back of my head that wakeboarding makes more sense, and I'm at a way more international point already than I am with snowboarding. But then in this case, I just focus on wakeboarding and still try to do snowboarding as much as I can, as I still do. winter is winter, summer is summer. Summer is a little bit long, or the seasons are a lot longer, but for me now, but I still have my 4 months of snowboarding each year. And that's all I do in those 4 months.
And there's no, I mean, not off topic, but there's no pressure from your wakeboard sponsors to say, hey, we don't want you snowboarding.
Not really. I
Okay.
feel like they're happy with what I do during the summer, especially in the European, like our summer in Europe. It's if you do a lot from like April until October, and then maybe extend your season until Christmas, you've done enough, I feel like.
Okay.
And sure, I want to go to Australia and I want to go to Asia as well. But that's the time until Christmas. And after Christmas, nobody really cares in Europe anymore about wakeboarding. I feel like here in the States, it's a little bit similar.
I
Like,
mean, it's a
sure,
summer sport, right? So
the people here in Florida, they still wakeboard. But that's also their off season.
yeah.
They go golfing, they go skating, I don't know, they go surfing. But the least they do is wakeboard. Maybe for every now and then, but not every day training hard.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah.
So it's a summer sport. I mean, I kind of want to dive into this a little bit because I've always thought that if you wakeboard year round for years on end, chasing the endless summer, you're gonna get burnt out at some point.
That's exactly why I don't do it. Because I don't know, I'm a board sports enthusiast, I guess. I love skating, I love snowboarding, I love wakeboarding, surfing. I kind of want to start kiting because it's also like you use wind, and I feel like I could probably do it quite easy knowing how to wakeboard already.
Yeah.
Just trying to learn everything as good as you can and use every element is sick, I think. And
For sure.
that's really what I want to do. And sure, kind of wakeboarding gives me that opportunity, but now I have to take it and get there to know how to do all these sports when I get older.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. I think being a board sports enthusiast makes you a better wakeboarder, and I'm sure your wakeboarding makes you a better snowboarder. Your snowboarding makes you a better surfer. They all tie into each other a little bit, and if you just stick to one, you're kind of going to be pigeonholed in just that one.
I mean, there's
one
other
sport.
people that love to do just this one thing, and maybe they go snowboard every now and then and a little bit of surfing, but they want to be on their wakeboard as much as possible.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to do in summer. Like, especially like beginning of the summer, I'm hyped for wakeboarding. Now to the end of the summer, I'm hyped for wakeboarding still, but I also want to go skating, and I don't know. I'm also looking forward for tomorrow morning because there's surf here in Florida and we're gonna go surf. So like, use the elements and the different sports everywhere you go, because there is so much more than going on the lake. And I don't know, like going to ODUP here five times in the 5 days I'm here. Well, I've been there 5 years ago and it looked the same. So it's might as well go to the beach, and then in the afternoon I can still wakeboard.
Yeah, and take a boat set here and there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So let's kind of go back to that early point in your career. I was talking to Raf, and I think it was 2011 Wake the Line. So he mentioned that you were at Wake the Line 2010. Probably didn't do super well at 2010, I don't think.
No, 2010, I won a wild card. So there was a wild card thing going on in Langenfeld that I won, and that's how I got in there. And then first round, I picked Henshaw as my head-to-head partner. How do you say?
Yeah.
Partner.
Partner.
And back then, I looked to Nico and I was like, who is this guy? I kind of feel like I could beat him.
You said you thought you could beat him?
I didn't know him. I was like, I don't know. Like, what do you think, Nico? And Nico was like, yeah, I don't think so. But I obviously didn't. But yeah, 2010, I went there first time and it was sick just to write that setup and to be able to go from pool to pool and ride something else than a regular wake park. Was sick already, and then 2011, I think I got an invite. Yeah,
Okay.
I think I got a regular invite.
Okay, and you were up against Ollie first?
I think so, yeah.
Or maybe it was later on, but Ollie was, I was talking to Raph and he's saying going into that contest, Ollie was like a favorite to win for sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure as Nico was as well. But so did you beat him, obviously?
I think that was the year when I got fourth.
Okay.
That was the year when Nico won. Watson or Lidberg got second and third, and I got fourth because I fucked up in finals. But I did do very well until then, and that was also, I think I beat Ollie back then. And I did talk about this with the ref as well, and they were like, "Who the fuck is this kid?" Like, Ollie, easy, you got this. And then I had a good run, and I'm not sure if Ollie fell or.
I don't think in those early rounds he had to have, because as I was talking about it with Raph, he was saying you did like, I think it was either switch 3 or front 3 to nose press, just like kind of ahead of its time when you're watching the other riders, like so technical, so dialed in.
That's that's what I said earlier. Like, I started wakeboarding because I was snowboarding, and everything I wanted to do on a wakeboard was because of snowboarding, and I didn't want to spin a 1080 or do any switch ups or whatever. I wanted to 360 in, into a nose press, 360 out or whatever.
Yeah.
Or just press it and do it legit and teed up. And I guess that, I was with Nico and a bunch of other people kind of ahead of its time back then, just because we had this background of snowboarding.
Yeah. I mean, in that era of wakeboarding as well, park riding and rail riding specifically was very loose. There was a lot of sliding around on some rails.
Yeah. It was a time where it all changed, though.
Yeah.
I don't want to say we changed that, but like our generation changed it. Like, also Henshaw and these guys, Henshaw, Raf, Ollie as well. Sure, Ollie was maybe even like a generation before where it was still a lot of spinning and seaching, but he definitely evolved with it and it got very legit. And I'm still stoked to see Ollie ride.
Yeah,
I haven't seen him ride in a while, unfortunately. Ollie, I hope to see you ride anytime soon again.
You too, Raph. I don't know what you're up to.
Yeah,
but both of you guys. So would you say that after, I mean, getting fourth, excuse me, getting fourth at Wake the Line in 2011, is that kind of a turning point in your wakeboarding career? I mean, or does it take a little bit longer after that to?
I'm not even sure if that was too much. Yeah, maybe. Yes, it was a turning point. It was definitely the point where a lot of my sponsors realized, oh, it's not just the random kid who's good at wakeboarding, but we're not going to see much from him. I feel like because I was also going like I was working back then. I had a regular job. I did an apprenticeship at Bosch as an industrial mechanic. And that's how, I don't know, for me, wakeboarding back then, it was still just a hobby that I did on my off days. But then I went to Wake the Line and did good there. But on Monday, I went back to work. And that was just like, I feel like that's how a lot of sponsors kind of realized, like, okay, he's actually willing to put a lot in to fulfill this dream of becoming a pro. And that's how, like, sure, they didn't start paying me right away. And it did take quite a while until they started paying me. But as I had this job, I could also just pay for trips myself and went to the States for Surf Expo just because I wanted to, and I paid for my flight. I asked some people that I knew from like Wake the Line and those contests if I can stay at theirs, and then I flew over. But nobody kind of knew. That's how I like first got introduced to the Liquid Forest guys, and they were like, "Oh, we heard about you, but we never really met you."
didn't expect you to
I
come
did.
over here and meet you here.
But I was there, and then kind of started. I had to invest myself to get a return after a little bit.
Definitely. So you had an apprenticeship for engineering. When do you start working for Sesi Tech?
So I started with my apprenticeship when I was 15 till 18 and a half or whatever. It was 3.5 years. And then after those 3.5 years with 18, I started working for Sesi Tech, or with 19, I guess.
Okay.
I started working for Sesi Tech right after my apprenticeship. Also because I kind of figured Sesi Tech, it would be way easier to get 3 days off and just go the wakeboard
More
path a
understanding.
little bit more.
Yeah.
Where Bosch is obviously like, they don't know anything about wakeboarding. And in my apprenticeship, they really supported me, and I could take could take days off where other people just couldn't. But the boss was like, well, you want to go to nationals? Could you podium? And I was like, yeah, maybe. And he was like, oh, hell yeah, you have to go. I was like, okay, sweet. And then switching to Sesi Tech, I was working as a mechanic, just metal work, building forks and towers and welding and grinding and drilling and just metal work. I was building the parts with the crew there. I did install some systems, but I never went to like a full-size cable installation.
Okay.
And the Sesi Tech time definitely helped me to get more and more involved into wakeboarding and have more time on a wakeboard and go on more trips, just because I talked to Nico's dad. He was the boss. And I was like, hey, there is this trip I want to go to, wherever, for like 2 weeks next week. And he was like, oh yeah, can you take those parts for us? But just take off. Like, it's okay.
Take the parts to where you're going.
Take the parts where you're going. We had to ship them anyways, and
perfect.
You're good to go. And that's how working got less and less, and wakeboarding got more and more.
So it was a slow transition.
It was a slow transition, but it was also like after my apprenticeship, I couldn't have done it without Sesi Tech. They paid for my insurance back then, and in Germany you have to have insurance. If you're self-employed, what I am now, you pay a lot of money for insurance. And that was really nice that was paid for at Sesi Tech. And then going from like my regular, whatever it is, 160 hours a month, I guess.
To qualify for insurance?
No, like 40 hours a week, basically, job. It got less and less, down to like a 35 hours a month in the end. But that was still the minimum amount that they could pay for my insurance. But then all of a sudden my insurance came up to me and were like, hey man, you're self-employment, you make a lot more money than you do with your 35 hours at Sesi Tech, so you have to pay back like 13 grand. I was like, oh no, now I'm really in deep shit. I ended up just paying like 2 grand or whatever, because I took a lawyer and they were like, oh, no, they cannot do this afterwards. But yeah, that was the moment where I was like, okay, now as I have to pay my insurance myself, I'm quitting at Sesi Tech and I'm just going to focus on wakeboarding full time.
Okay.
That was like 6 years ago when I was 24, 25-ish.
Is when you fully transitioned into... Okay.
Yeah.
Before we jump there, because the debut was when you were still working at Sesi Tech, right? At least a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think
that's when I just started at Sesi Tech, actually.
Really?
Yeah. The debut was when I started at Sesi Tech.
Okay. So I think it's a good time to talk about the debut.
Yeah.
How did this opportunity come about?
I know Andy Kolb forever. Like, since the first contest I went to, he was always there as the wake skater. He was judging always. I knew he was also a good filmer. But like when I started riding, they were filming for Impact, for example. I don't know if you've seen it, Impact or Ticket. Those were the people I looked up to. I never heard of Parks or Shane Bonifay until that time, or until a long time after that even. But like growing up, it was Ticket, Impact, Statement. Yeah, those were the 3 movies I've watched. I don't know any other wakeboard movies from back then, really. Yeah. And so Andy Kolb was part of those always. So he was kind of like a hero of mine. And I don't know, he came up to me, or he told me about this movie idea. And back then, like, that was right after those Wake the Line years, or right in those Wake the Line years. He was like, I want you to be part of this. And I was obviously super stoked to like get this opportunity. How big this would actually be in my career, I obviously did not realize in the moment. I was just like, hell yeah, I'm going to give everything to film a good part. And yeah, I'm very thankful for Andy that he gave me that opportunity, especially because I've been a Grom back there. I've been a newcomer, and he probably could have had different people to choose from as well. But I think I did okay.
I think you did a great job. That I mean, the debut, for those who haven't seen it, I think that's a must-watch for any wakeboarder. Great soundtrack.
Yeah.
Great. It's just put together super well.
Yeah.
So you said before this, or not you said, in the movie, they go, you had 2 back-to-back injuries before you started filming this. What were those?
So as I got out of my apprenticeship and started working for CC Tech, and obviously also filming for the movie, I dislocated my middle foot bones doing a KGB out of the water air trick. My bindings got loose, and I kind of slipped. I lost the handle in the air, kind of slipped out of the binding halfway with one foot, and then turned the board, and my foot just went like. So the middle foot like those are the middle foot bones. They just went sideways, and
never heard of that happening before.
That's what the doctor told me when I got to the hospital. Well, I've never seen this before. And then one guy, like in the background, he was like, well, I did like 20 years ago one time. And I was like, oh, guys, come on. I hope you can fix this at least. This, and then my shoulder, I popped out my shoulder I started popping out my shoulder like again and again and again. And that was right in the time when when we were filming the debut. So I had my first surgery right around Wake the Line 2012 maybe.
Okay.
And then I did a lot of rehab so I could finish. We did film in the springtime already. Then I dislocated my shoulder again right at the Wake the Line practice, I guess. So Dom Hernler actually had my spot, or he was the backup rider, so he got my spot. And then at the end of the year, I went with Andy to Thailand to finish my part.
Okay, so how long was the filming for the debut?
For me, like in general, we filmed at Chiptopia for a week or so. And then we went to Thailand and filmed there for 3 weeks. So like a month.
Okay, for you.
Yeah, just for me.
Okay.
I think all in all, it was almost 2 years, 1.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of travel in that.
It was a lot of traveling. Andy had a little bit of a problem he tried to come into the States and they saw his red. And then they were like, well, what are you doing here?
They saw his what?
They saw his red camera.
Oh, okay.
At customs.
Yeah.
And then he was like, well, I'm just going on vacation. And they did
super expensive camera.
They did not believe him with his 50,000 euro camera and sent him straight back. And he could not go back to the States until last year, or beginning of this year, I think. He was not allowed in the States for 10 years. And now he's not allowed to come in with the ESTA, with this traveler vacation visa. He has to go to the embassy and get a real visa. So he's been struggling from it until this year.
So
and that's
Andy
10 years
wasn't
ago.
there for all of Gyptopia.
No, like that was right before. So we went to Chiptopia, we filmed that, and then we went back to Germany, and then he tried to come back like a couple months or maybe only weeks later, and then he got denied and couldn't come back until this year.
Bummer. Let's talk about Gyptopia. So you helped kind of put that together with all the boys there too. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you think of that place when you showed up?
So that was actually pretty funny. So we had to look for locations where we want to film. And Nico comes up to me and was like, "Hey, Felix, he talked to Papanacos, and there is this new system in North Carolina getting set up," and showed me some pictures. And I was like, "Holy shit, this rail, this downstairs, this down rail and everything looks amazing. And how it's painted and everything, amazing." I think until the flight to there, I did not realize that we actually have to set up the systems before.
Left that part out.
And I don't what was his name who we set it up with? It was Nico. So we get there. First of all, we had to work for a week basically. We stayed in those vans. It was still pretty cold back then. It was like March.
Yeah.
Yeah, like end of March or whatever. It was still frosty at night.
Yeah.
Very frosty at night.
Looks cold in the movie.
And so we set up those systems. Henshaw shows up like on one of the later days of us setting up the systems. And then we started shooting for like a week. And it was nice because, we were the first people to shoot there. So it was really a blank canvas, and we could really do whatever came in our minds.
Yeah.
And we set up that corrugator pipe on the incline, and them letting us letting Henshaw hit the bus. I don't know. Still very thankful for Clark and Alex that they actually led us right there.
Yeah.
And sure, Andy, like he was the money giver. But Clark and Alex, they made it happen there. And they, like, without them, our parts wouldn't have been that good. So thank you guys.
A lot of great routing went down. Specifically, I was rewatching the part back, and there's a couple things that stuck out to me. One of which was you guys put a lot of effort into going above and beyond in terms of like putting cattle gates as closeouts, or like you said with the corrugated, hitting the bus, obviously. Where did the motivation between the crew come from to say, hey, we're going to take that extra step in each of these clips to make it stand out that much more?
I guess especially because, that's where like Nico and I are just coming from snowboarding. And when we rode together at our home spot, it was like, we just like, I want to do this switch front three or this cap three into this down rail, but I want to land 50-50. And we've been doing this for like 5-6 years already on mostly wide boxes and like there's nothing that can happen really on sidewalk wide boxes most of the time. So we were really like, okay, let's make something different. And we've seen people hit those regular boxes, how they are in the wake park for so many years now. Let's make it a little bit more gnarly. Let's put a close in, close out there and make it look sicker than what it is, and a little bit more sketchy, obviously, but that's gonna make it so much nicer and so much visibly nicer. That was, I guess the motivation comes really from different sports. So we skated, we snowboarded, we watched street parts, and that's what we want to do. So that's how we kind of came up with different things. And we saw this corrugated pipe there, and we were like, let's put it on there. Let's put this handrail right in front of the rail, and or on the side, and hit it as a creeper. Yeah.
Well, it paid off, I think. That there's a reason why some of these parts in movies are so rewatchable, and the little details are a huge part of that.
Exactly. And like for nowadays, for me, it's definitely winching. I feel like park, for me, I've done what I could do. I cannot really evolve in park anymore. I'm just too old, and
You're not gonna go do a 1260 or
exactly.
double mode.
Like
or
I probably blow up both of my knees, and my knees are fine now, and I don't want anything to happen there anymore. Too old for that now. So yeah, winching for me now is where I can still get creative and hit spots where people are stoked to see me hit those, and are maybe surprised also, and are like, oh, sick, this is possible. Let's try this as well.
Yeah. Well, we can dive into winching a little bit. In the debut, you did, I don't know if this is the first one done, but you're like nose shovel, little backside 180. Were you the first one to do that? I mean, where did you get that inspiration from? Because I don't remember seeing that anywhere else.
I feel like I was just the first one to actually film it.
Okay. Put it out there.
Yeah. Like I don't know, just everybody at the cable, back then, it was not only about wakeboarding. You went water skiing, you took the disc out, you took a mono ski out, you tried to hit the slalom with like 58 Ks or whatever. But you also tried different things on a wakeboard, like nosedive or shovel into the water and get out, like to a submarine. I don't know. I heard different names for that thing or for that trick.
Yeah, I don't know the official name of it, but that's what
I think there is no official name.
But it just came from just fucking around
just
on the
fucking
water.
around, and I did it. I think we filmed it in Thailand.
Yep.
And I just did it free riding, and Eddie was like, "Why shouldn't we just film this as well?" I was like, "For sure, let's do it." And for me, growing up, especially as a cable red, for me, a big idol was Nick Davies, just because he's so playful on the board. So Nick Davies and P2. I don't know if you've heard of P2, Peter Pascal Schmidt. He was a guy from our cable. And him and Nick Davies back then were like battling for junior world champion every year pretty much. P2 is now like just a homie from home. Like we go party together or hang out. And but back then he was like the older guy that's already... I think he was the first person in Europe having a pro model on an international company on Liquid Force. He had the trip as his pro model, but just as a European version. So it wasn't over here. But that was the first guy having a pro model. Then he kind of stopped his career, but just seeing them ride playful and not be the spin to win guy. I mean, Nick Davies did that, but then he did like the Bel Air TikTok stuff, and I still love it.
The kind of stuff where you show up to the cable and you see him riding around, and
you're just like, wow,
that's awesome.
He's an amazing rider.
Yeah,
and everybody wouldn't want to let their eyes off this person. So yeah, that's just how those things like the shovel thing come up. And
yeah. So another, when I was rewatching this part, and we can kind of move on after this part, but in the Gyptopia pool, there's a sequence of switch trick, regular trick, switch trick, regular trick, or vice versa on the down rails. And then at Thai Wake Park, you do switch 1 footer, regular 1 footer. Where's the motivation? Because you were young, you were kind of, like you said, Andy didn't have to pick you. Was it a conscious decision to do a bunch of switch and regular tricks to kind of, I guess I don't know. At
Chiptopia, it definitely came because I wanted to do it. Like, for me, it always was sick watching skate or snowboard videos when people did it switch and regular. Because as soon as you try it regular and you get that trick, to do it switch is like, it's a different thing. It's not the same trick anymore. And to be able to do this, for me, it was like, okay, this is sick to show in a part that you are good left foot or right foot forward. So, it was just to see the my ability, I guess, my ability of how to use the wakeboard. Yeah.
Last thing on that movie is in the film, it's kind of like a mix of documentary and wakeboarding parts, which I think is really cool. Crowhurst, the narrator of it, is talking about your eye and your eyesight. I feel like this is a good time to dive into that. Like, what is, I guess for people who don't know, what's up with your eyes?
Well, it's just my left eye. I only see 10% on my left side because as a 6-year-old, I think in first grade, or maybe just before I got into school, I don't even know. We went on vacation to France, and I was playing on top of the car while it was parked, but we were parked underneath a tree. So I took a branch off the tree, tried to stick it into the window and like close the window. But as I let go, the branch just popped out like super, super fast and hard and went straight into my eye. And that's how I lost the sight of my eye. The doctors, they couldn't really do anything because the lens just exploded pretty much. That's why it's now you kind of can see it, that I have a really wide pupil, or my left eye is basically black. That was immediately like this. And then like the following years until I was like 10 until I started wakeboarding pretty much, I did have to go into surgery like a bunch of times, like 6 times or so, just because they wanted to fix it or to save as much sight as possible. But the lens was broken, so they could really just try to fix whatever was broken and couldn't really make it better anymore. But that's how I started every sport pretty much. Like after the accident, I started skating. Or maybe I was skating a little bit before, but I started skating like a lot. And then I started to be really motivated in snowboarding as well. I was skiing back then already, but then like skiing and snowboarding got more and more. And so I learned everything I can do now just with basically one eye. But the 10% I still have do help me a lot with like, I don't know, I know how to grab the can. I know this is the mic. You know, like I see
depth
depth
perception or whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
depth perception. So the 10% helped me a lot just with like seeing. But if I drive a car, for example, I do turn around like this because I don't know what's going on my left side. So it's really like if something happened on my left side, or if somebody wants to pass me something, I don't see my left hand right now.
Really?
Like this is not
The peripheral vision or whatever isn't there.
it's I do see something is moving, but then I would have to turn my head over to actually look at it.
Interesting.
So like if I look at you, the mic is like where it ends, like here.
Okay. So pretty early on in the vision,
Yeah.
it ends. So was it always at 10% right when it happened, and then
Yeah, pretty much.
they tried to get more, or?
They tried to get more, but it didn't really work. I had contact lenses. They tried to put this like a jelly stuff in there that would actually like kind of provide the lens, I guess. I don't know. I was so young, so I didn't really.
Yeah.
I don't really know, and my parents don't really know either anymore because they had like 3 other kids that they had to take care of. And they did try that, but it kind of made it worse. And I did have like a lot of pain. My eye pressure was at around like 60 or something, 50, 60. Regular eye pressure as at 20. So my head just felt like it would explode for a while. So we had to go constantly to the doctor. They had to fix it. They just came up with a needle, put it in my eye, and yeah, that's how it got better. And eventually they were just like, okay, if you want to live, like that, we got to the point where I didn't have that high eye pressure anymore. And then we just stopped trying anything because I did get involved in all these sports, and my parents kind of saw like, okay, he seems to do fine. Like, why should we try anything anymore? And maybe nowadays I could try to do something, but then like, what would it change? Maybe it makes maybe it fucks everything up. And maybe I cannot do anything anymore because now as a 30-year-old, it's not as easy to learn something. As a 6-year-old, you don't care. You just want to wakeboard, snowboard, or skateboard and do the thing you want to do. If it's with one eye or two eyes, it doesn't matter.
So it's not something you really think about.
No.
It's just how you've basically grown up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much. Like sometimes I do realize, like playing ping pong or playing paddle. Is it called paddle? The indoor
Pickleball?
I don't know. Like everything with balls where I like have to throw something or have a racket where I have to. That is hard because I'm left-handed as well. So especially ping pong, if I play forehand, I don't see my hand. So yeah, but it's something. If I would play it more, I would get used to it as well. Okay. I'm just not into it. Yeah. So it does take me like a little bit longer maybe to learn this, but I could learn it. So it's whatever for me.
Interesting. It's pretty amazing to me that I've never had the vision you have, but it seems like 10% in the left eye is like a significant. It seems like everything would be harder.
It's 90% less.
90% less. So it's just incredible that you were able to do what you have done with that. I don't want to say hindrance, but it's harder than 100%,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, I guess so. But as I said, like I didn't think about it, and I still don't want to think about it or want to kind of be maxed down to it.
Yeah.
Or how do you? Yeah.
Held back, like you're not
held back.
You're not being held back.
It's part of me, and I can keep up with everyone who has two eyes. So it's nothing that.
More than keep up, I think. You're doing a little bit more than keeping up, which is good. Let's talk. We were talking a little bit about European versus American culture when it comes to wakeboarding and cable parks and all that stuff. And you touched on it a little bit earlier with you were kind of just going out on the water doing everything. Let's, in your eyes, contrast American wakeboard culture versus European, German wakeboard culture.
Well, I grew up on the cable, and European. Sure, there's boating in Europe, but wakeboarding or water skiing or this whole water sport thing that we all do and started to do and love is cable. It's water skiing, it's mono skiing, it's trick skiing, it's wakeboarding. That's how we all got into hanging out at the cable all day. Where here in America, it's boating. Everybody boats, really. Like, but it's also just as easy to put in boats in lakes here, where we have just too many regulations. Gas is a lot more expensive, and like we just have way too many not too many. We just have plenty of cable parks all around Europe. I think Germany has 100 cable parks
between full sizes and system twos.
I think we have like 85 full size and like maybe 20 or 15 systems, maybe more. Like I don't know the exact numbers. France has even more. France has like 130 or 40 cables between system. They have a little bit more system parks, like full on system parks, where Germany is really about full-size cables and has just a few system parks. But yeah, that's the main difference, really. How many cables has North America?
Less than 20, maybe? I don't
probably.
know. Around there, probably. So I think that's an interesting point. So for Germany, France, and all these places to have a bunch of cables, they have to be successful, right? They have to be successful businesses. So in America, I've always heard and kind of felt that it's really hard to make a cable profitable and worthwhile. Where do you think the gap is there?
I think like for German cables, it's also hard. It is hard work in the summertime to make up for the money you lose in wintertime. In wintertime, nobody wants to wakeboard. So because it's too cold or it's just not a winter sport. Even down here in Florida, I feel like ODUP doesn't make as much money in winter than they do in summer. So the summer month, are their prior months. And those are the months where you really want to get as many people to the cable as possible. Where in Germany, it doesn't matter what you ride. Everybody has to start with water ski though, because this is the easiest way to get someone up on the water and smiling. You do a lap with water ski and you can jump on a wakeboard. And that gets a lot of people just like happy, and then they come back and try wakeboarding. Where in the States, at most of the cables, they just give you a wakeboard and you start wakeboarding, which is for a lot of people that never been on something like this, like something on riding on water. They don't have the feeling. They don't have the body consciousness. No,
Control.
They don't have the body control that other people have that do a lot of sports. So if they jump on the wakeboard right away, they just maybe fail and don't come back ever again. They're like, oh, I've tried it. My body is sore for a week now, and it's not that fun.
Yeah.
If they would have done a lap on the skis and then failed like 5 times on the wakeboard, they would have been like, oh, we might as well jump back on the skis and just do a few laps. But then I come back in like a month again. And yeah, that's like where I feel like in Europe, especially Germany and France, I guess, does it the same way. We just try to give the people, or the cables try to give the people a good time at the cable, no matter what. Doesn't have to be wakeboarding. Lithuania does it different. They don't have water skis either, and it seems to be working well. But then they do like their classes. So slow cable, you have a teacher, you start with your easy up board, and then you learn how to ride. Or you go to the system, or you go to the cable that's a 7 tower.
The beginner one, slower.
Exactly. But it's really about like helping the beginners as much as possible to get on the board, on the skis, and give them a good time.
Yeah.
And the businesses in Germany, they rent the cables out before opening hours. So the cables are not open in the morning because it's too cold most of the time. But
people are busy at work too, or whatever.
Exactly. So they rent out the cable to like school classes, company parties or whatever. So you can rent the cable for, I don't know, 2 hours for $200 or whatever. I don't know the prices exactly, but around $200. And then, you can come with how many people you want and go water skiing and wakeboarding. And that's how you also that's what a lot of cables here don't do. Like, they have their regular opening hours from 12 till 7, 6, 7. But that's all they do. That's when the cable is running. But the 4 hours prior 12, from 8 to 12, why don't you rent it out? Have a school class come there as like their after holidays when they do activities or whatever, hiking trip. It's a wake park trip, a sport trip.
Yeah.
It's not like you go to a theme park or a water slide park. It is a sport. So might as well let the kids do the sport or try the sport.
100%. And like you're saying, summer's short. So you got to be open, damn near the entire day to make it worth your while, right?
Yeah.
And that is the best way to get people. I know some parks in America do, I can think of a few that do the summer camps. So they do their own summer camp that you got to sign up through the wake park.
Yep.
That seems a little bit more difficult than what you're saying is you go to the school districts or you go to these companies and you get them to come in
and rent it.
Basically, rather than have each camper sign up.
The camps are really like for school kids, I believe. So it's like the school kids are on their summer holiday, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. How much is it here?
Not that long. So probably 8 weeks, 2 months, maybe.
Yeah, 2 months. And the parents want to get them off out of the
Stay
house.
away, yeah.
So they have like this week of wakeboard camp or whatever, right? Or then they probably do the wakeboard camp, and the next week they do whatever snowboard camp in Mount Hood.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the camp you mean, right?
Um,
They're kind of like there the whole day. There's food. There's
kind of, yeah. It's the ones that I've seen, at least at the wake park I was going to, is like it's like a school camp. So there's, I don't know, kids from a certain class that come and sign up for the wakeboard park, and it's Monday to Thursday, 8 to 12.
yeah,
And it's just the morning. But I mean,
Yeah.
similar thing.
similar thing. That is like exactly that works. But then like there's cables that have two parks right next, or two cables, parks that have two cables, and why not rent out one cable fully all day, and the second one is just running for public riding hours. So there's different ways of doing it, and not every cable in Germany is the same either.
So one thing that you would say, though, it sounds like, is to get water skis at every park. Would that be
I
a pretty
think
easy
so.
fix? I mean, not fix, but like something to add.
I think so, that it would make the learning process of the regular Joe a lot easier. Yeah.
Okay. Skiing is easier than wakeboarding. Snow skiing is easier than snowboarding.
Most of the people start with skiing as well. I started skiing as well. Then I wanted to jump on a snowboard. Sure, nowadays more kids start with snowboarding, which works, which is fine.
You got to
But
be
I
a little bit
feel
more
like-
driven to push through those first few days.
Exactly. And like I feel like just to get your kids on skis, not the only kids, even adults, you're gonna learn it faster. You have two edges you can break like this, especially on like snow skis. Like you have more control in the beginning. It's not just like this.
Yeah, and you're sideways.
Yeah.
You're facing forward like you're walking.
Yeah.
Like you normally do.
So I think that would help a lot.
Okay.
And yes, it's not that cool, but it is fun. I go water skiing every now and then. Why not? It's all about having fun.
There's no rules, man.
No.
That's what it's all about. Well,
Exactly.
there's some rules, and we'll get into the rules a little bit later. But did you ever, growing up, I mean, it sounds like the answer to this is no, but at the ski hill, did you ever had a hard time bringing your snowboard friends to try the cable, or were they all pretty much like, hey, yeah, that looks fun, let's go do it?
I mean, it's more like ever since I'm like more involved into wakeboarding, traveling a lot, I obviously like in the snow park, a lot of people are like, oh, the wakeboard guy again. But it's more like I don't know, you just fuck around with each other, and it's not
serious.
It's not serious.
Okay.
And if you take it serious, I mean, it's your own fault. In the end, if you like to do it, it doesn't matter what they say. And if they say you have fun and you do cool things that are similar to snowboarding, they come up to you and they're like, hey, I kind of want to try this because this looks fun. This looks like snowboarding in summer. So I actually had mostly good experiences with snowboarders coming up to me and being like, hey, should we try this in summer again? Or should we try this together in summer? Like, do you have a board for me? Can we just go to the cable and I want to try this.
Yeah. You make it look good. It's kind of hard to deny, right? Like,
Yeah.
it looks cool. It looks fun.
Most of the snowboarders, they realize that it's really hard on your upper body. And sure,
Because you never
also
use your
on
upper body snowboarding hardly. so-
Exactly. And most of the people are like, okay, I don't want to do it again because I've been hurting for a week.
You just got to break through that
Exactly.
phase. Once
Yeah.
you build the muscles up, you're good. But
If you do it only now and every once in a while, it's just hard to get that body strength, I guess. And it is an expensive sport. Owning your own board, life jacket, bindings, helmet, season pass. It's expensive. I mean, snowboarding is expensive, but most of the snowboarders, they also struggle to get all their stuff for winter. So they're not going to start another sport that's
Doubles
just
the price
as
of it.
expensive.
yeah.
So, yeah. I guess most of them want to try, and they would try again, but they probably wouldn't start it like as their new hobby.
Yeah.
A few people do, And that's amazing. I always love to see people that I snowboard with in summer. Sammy, Yannick, Chilvio. I don't know. We all snowboard, and we all only want to snowboard in winter. But we love to wakeboard in summer.
Yeah, I feel like you have enough money and there's a cable close enough.
Yeah.
But that is the tough part that you bring up is if you want to get all these snowboarders into it, they spend a lot of money on
Already,
snowboard gear.
yeah.
So you're basically, I mean, you're almost doubling it. They don't have quite as much outerwear, but you need a life jacket,
Yeah.
helmet, all that stuff.
And like one big part, I feel like snowboarders say that just doesn't make, or that just makes a lot of sense for me listening to them, is you buy a season pass for probably 700 to $1,000, but you only go in a circle where you pay 700 or $1,000 for a season pass, where you can go to this resort and that resort and this resort and that resort, and you just have so many more possibilities with this one pass in snowboarding than in wakeboarding for one circle.
Does Germany or any of Europe have, like, in America we have the Epic Pass and the Icon Pass, and those passes are like, I don't know, 700 to $1,000, and you can go to all these resorts.
In Europe there is those. Like the area where I live, there is one. Then there is like the Tyrol card, which is around Innsbruck and all these resorts. But then even in Innsbruck, there's another card that's like, that doesn't include as many resorts, but it's similar.
For wakeboarding, I mean. Are there
For
any
wakeboarding?
cables?
No, for wakeboarding, I don't think so, actually.
That could be something that would be pretty cool.
I know, for example, I know that a few cables are talking about it, where there is a lot of cables within like 1 hour reach.
Yeah.
So there is a few cables talking about it. Just system, they all have to work on the same system, and I feel like that is still the problem, because a bunch of cables are still old school, and they might only have the wristbands where they put the names on and the hours that you just bought, and the operator always has to check that, and you don't scan yet. So I feel like it's more a technical thing that where Germany is just really far behind in the technical thing. But that's a German general problem. General German problem. That's the way you say it.
Okay.
But yeah, I hope it comes.
Yeah, it'd be really cool.
Yeah.
I think to explore that, especially. I mean, in America, we're not ready for it yet, but it seems like in a place where there's a ton of cables, super densely packed, you could do it. You mentioned going in a circle, so I had this crazy idea. I've had it for a while. Is it possible? And you've obviously worked with SessiTech for a long time. Is it possible to have a cable that makes right and left turns? You'd have to change the carrier, right?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there has been, or I know SessiTech has been thinking about this and working on this for a little bit, but they didn't come out with it. It would be amazing. I did talk, like Nico does talk about this, or did talk about this a lot ages ago already, and we did dream about this cable where you have like a massive...
It goes like through a river or something and has elevation change.
A massive lake where you could just go left, right, up, down. You have different start areas. So you have
multiple start decks. We're on the same page.
Amazing. It would be insane. I think what would be more realizable right now, sure, the carrier or the pulley thing, that's just an engineering thing, I guess. Like, it could be
You could figure it out.
Somebody could figure it out.
Yeah.
I probably couldn't. Like, I'm not an engineer, so... but somebody should figure it out, for sure. What would really be possible is a cable that has different levels. Like, for example, Valdosta has their pool fixed there. But why not make it a pool that goes up? Like, everybody has to go up. It's a full-on lake that has 2 or 3 levels.
Side to side, it's completely... You don't have a choice. You go up.
Yeah, exactly. You have to go up, or and in the end you have to go down. But you could make it safe enough for people to ride their knee boards up and they just get pulled up. Sure, especially like a place like Lithuania, for example, 313. They have 3 cable parks now. Why not make? Why like I'm bummed they didn't make the 3rd cable.
I had the same thought. Yeah,
like that. Just make it 2 levels, and you have a way up that is really sick for kicker hits. Sure, in the middle you can put rails, and that is your pro cable. Like, it's amazing. They already have a beginner, advanced, and pro cable. Why not make this cable where you have to go up and down a pro cable?
yeah.
Then even within this second pool, you could have another pool and go up or down, or you know what I mean.
Oh, I'm tracking exactly what you're saying.
The Valdosta System Park is, I think, the best example of that. But that could be a full-size cable.
For sure. 100% agree.
Riding a system, for me, it's amazing because you just get picked up. But when I ride boat, for example, it pisses me off that the people watch you, only you, and you have to, I don't know, you kind of have to do something all the time. I like to ride cable where like you're kind of by yourself and nobody watches you and you just do your thing, and when you fall, you walk back. Yeah, and that would be nice to have that with like different elevations, levels, and
well, maybe the next cable that 313 builds at their complex will be,
I hope so,
super advanced pro.
So if I ever build a cable, I'll make it like this.
I think that honestly is the natural progression of the way that cables are going to go eventually.
Hopefully,
as long as people keep building them.
Yeah.
So you're in America. What shocks you every time you come to America? You haven't been here in a little bit. What's stuff that just jumps out to you that you're like, holy shit?
The gun laws. It's insane. For me as a European, it's just insane. I feel like people go to Australia, for example, and they're like, oh man, everything can kill you here because there's so many dangerous animals. But here you go out on the street and every person could kill you.
True.
Every person that you don't know, it's more dangerous than anything in Australia. Yeah, that does shock me a lot, actually. That's why I'm just European, and it's not as easy to get guns there, and it's not a thing there, and I think it's good that we don't have that.
It's a totally different culture.
That is actually the only thing that really shocks me. Countries have different vibes and different, I don't know. Everything is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Here, the cars are bigger. There's more fast food. I don't know. Just the way you live is a little bit different, but it's the same in, I don't know, if I go to France or if I go to England, it's also a little bit different. But the gun thing is...
You ever shot a gun?
No, I have not. I would love to. I have not.
You should go to Blake Bishop's house. I'm sure he's.
I actually been there a few times, but I've never shot a gun.
Oh yeah, you filmed an edit there. His last.
I would totally shoot a gun. Like I don't know. That's an American thing you do when you're here, I guess. Maybe
it's pretty fun.
Yeah,
it's pretty fun.
I'm sure, but just the availability of it is.
Yeah, you go to Walmart and pick up a gun. It's pretty crazy.
It's kind of, for me, it's retarded. To be honest, like I say it out loud, and not being able to drink until you're 21, but you can buy a gun in the supermarket.
I think a lot of Americans would agree on that. That's pretty crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah, it is. It is crazy. So jumping back to, I guess we could go a lot of different directions here, but you've done a lot of cable contests in your day. We haven't really talked about contests yet. What are some contests that jump out to you that really do it right, that you have the best experience at?
I mean, for me, the most amazing contest back then was Wake the Line. Wake the Line, I mean, Fees was really sick. Those were setups you don't get to ride at the cable park. And that's why they were so interesting to me, or still are interesting. Like just to ride something that you don't have at your regular daily basis. Yeah, I mean, the 313 cable events, Wake Duel, Muting Mesh now, those are super fun because people come to watch. Where I think a lot of like the world championships and stuff, like they don't get advertised at all, basically. Like nobody really knows when they are other than the core scene. And
the setups are kind of lame too.
the setups don't get changed because they have to do it. Sure, like it's good that they have to do it for like mini boys until veterans. Like it needs to be a setup that's available for everyone. But like for the pro, there's so many like still pro events where nothing gets changed, and it's your regular kicker hit, fun box, 3 more other transfer rails most definitely, because there you can flip and spin and do crazy stuff that looks for the spectator crazy, but then at those contests there's most of the time no spectators. So that's also really why I like to ride contests when I do okay or when I'm happy, satisfied with my riding. But I don't know, it's such a objective thing to judge. Subjective thing to judge a contest. It's in every sport. It's in skating, it's in snowboarding, it's in wakeboarding. Like what do the judges like and what don't they like? What doesn't they like? Don't they like? How do you say it?
Yeah, what do they like? What don't they like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like I just don't know how to set up a good contest run. So I do not enjoy it too much.
Well, you know how to set up a good video part, so you get that.
And that's, for me, that's more fun.
Yeah.
I do, like, as I said, like I do enjoy when you do good at a contest, it's nice. But for me personally, I don't do good at the most of the time, so I enjoy the company there. I enjoy the hanging out, the riding together prior to the contest. But I don't want to
compare yourself to a bunch of other
compare
people.
myself or battle me with my friends.
Yeah.
And most of the wakeboarders are my friends, or we are all friends, and we want to ride together and push the sport. And it's sick to see when somebody is a good contest rider. But in my days, I'm not gonna become that person anymore.
You've got a pretty good resume, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Video parts. So let's talk about. You said that Red Bull kind of contacted you and said, "Hey, we'd like to have you on, the Wake team." What year was that, and how did that kind of officially happen?
So that must have been 2012 or 2013, actually. Like right when the debut came out, I guess. Now is my 10th year on Red Bull, and yeah, the guy, I knew him from a snowboard contest actually, where he was still working for Nike 6.0. But then, like at the event, it was already clear he switches to Red Bull. And like a year later, or maybe 2 years later, he sent me a Facebook message and was just like, "Hey, how's it looking with energy drink sponsors?" And I was like, "Well, I'm talking to Monster right now, but I don't have a contract, and they're not telling me when they want to send me the contract, so I'm happy to meet you." And then like the next day he already came to my area. We went out for dinner, and yeah, with the first family deal I got from Red Bull, they already paid more than Monster would have paid for like the European team.
Wow.
So that was a pretty easy decision for me to make.
Wow, wild! You just get a Facebook message. Next thing you know, you're slugging Red Bulls back. In terms of the Red Bull projects, because you've done a lot of Red Bull video projects over the years. How do all these project ideas start? Do they come from you? Do they come from the team? Do they come from a combination of the two?
It kind of changes. It's both. It can go both ways. So the Frozen Lake Wake Lake, however, I don't know how we actually call it, but that one, it was my idea because I mean, it's not a new idea really to take to cut out ice from a frozen lake and
It's been
go
done
wait
before.
for it. It's been
Yeah.
done before. But I went up to them and was like, hey, why don't we build a nice park out of the ice we actually take out? And they were fully up for it. And so that was my idea that I went up to Red Bull Germany with. But then the wake crane project, for example, that was this German guy who like just pitches ideas to Red Bull. He's, I don't know, he does other things as well, I guess, but he just has crazy ideas.
He's an ideas guy.
Yeah,
That's a
exactly.
good job.
And then like, sure, he has the knowledge to make those happen.
Put it all together.
Yeah, put it all
Okay.
together, organize everything. Like he's the guy with the drone as well, for example, where Ryan Grubb wake skated behind through the Grand Canyon or some canyon.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Some cave system or whatever. Yeah.
And so he sold that idea to Red Bull Germany, and Dominic Gers was like the main wakeboarder in the edit. So they worked together with Dominic Gers on like what kind of obstacles we want. Sure, they got Dom Hernler and my opinions about it, and we also told them like we should have containers, because why not have containers as obstacles when we already ride in a harbor where there is a lot of containers? We want to have this vibe that's around there. Like we don't want to have plastic obstacles that everybody can ride in a park all the time.
Yeah, fit
like,
the
then
aesthetic too.
Exactly. We want to fit the aesthetic. We want to build obstacles that are bigger,
Eye-catching.
just more creative, where you can do different things as well. And that's how, sure, the idea comes from someone else, but then in the end we all work together to make it happen.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk about that crane harbor video a little bit more, because what's it like to ride behind a crane? Because it's spinning in a circle. Does it feel similar to a cable or not at all?
It does feel similar to a cable, especially when you like ride under the arm. But as soon as you kind of drift out or edge out, you're speeding up like big time, because if you just cut out, you just start flying pretty much. Sure, you get down again because you're not going too fast, but it's a constant corner. So we really had to set the containers pretty much underneath, like inside of the crane arm. So
Okay.
as soon as we got outside of the crane arm, we were too fast and it would just whip you around. So it was a constant whip pretty much. Like really landing, blind landings were super hard on that project. So like on most of the blind landings, we just set the end of the container so it's inside. So you kind of would
Outside
whip
in.
out, outside in, yeah.
Okay.
But that's also like the fun part on those
figuring it out.
projects, like to figure things out and okay, we have to set this obstacle like this or like that, or let's just make the rope longer to make it easier, or just figuring things out makes it so much more interesting. It makes the sport more interesting for me personally.
For sure. I mean, it definitely does. And it's cool when these crazy, weird videos come out that you're like,
How did they do this?
Yeah. Like thankfully someone has the money to back all this crazy shit that they're doing, because it's cool. How long did that crane video take to film?
The crane video was actually a lot of effort. I think we were there for 2 weeks, and it was like 12 days of shooting, I'm pretty sure.
Wow.
Like that was a lot of effort, especially because the harbor there was so deep. They had to anchor the obstacles with like divers. So it would take like a full day basically to change the setup. And we had like, I don't know, 4 setup changes or whatever. So that was always like off days for us. Or we would shoot something in the morning, then they would change something, and then we could shoot at night again. or yeah. But it was like, it was just so much effort, so many people on set as well. Yeah, where it does get also, yeah, annoying sometimes, because a lot of the people just don't know wakeboarding too well either. It doesn't matter if it's cameraman or sponsors. Back then, it was like this random drone company from Korea or whatever that was sponsoring it, but they gave apparently a good amount of money.
Sounds like an expensive project. So
to the whole project. And they just wanted, I don't know, they wanted to fly the drone, but the drone couldn't film, so we had to use a different drone to film the drone that doesn't film us, but
makes it look like it does or something.
It was, yeah, and stuff like this makes a project like this also annoying after a while, because you don't focus on just riding and action, but then that's what pays the craziness, I guess, and what you have to do to make this happen.
So you're talking about people, a lot of the people on set and involved probably, they kind of understand what you guys are doing to an extent, but they definitely don't know the ins and outs of it. So when it comes to trying tricks, is there any pushback that you get? So like, you could go out there and do a bunch of 180s, some 540s, 360s, a tantrum, whatever, but the riding in a lot of these projects has the kind of like the next level trick, like a 720 or tantrum to blind, that when you're doing these weird new setups, you're not going to get it first try probably. I mean, you might, but is there any pushback in terms of like, I'm sure the riders, you guys want to show off really good riding.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like in a lot of those projects, it was like, I guess I'm a good person that can actually tell the people or explain it to the people and be like, okay, I'm going to do this. It might go within the first 5 tries. It might take 50 tries. So we just have to do this as long as I land it. So it's really about communication in those projects. If you just do your thing and start riding and hit this and that and this and that, and then wonder why 80% of it is not filmed, then you did wrong, because you do just film this because all the camera are on this one obstacle,
and then it's edited to make it
look this like a nice video.
Yeah,
but in the end, you're just gonna film this one trick, and then it's gonna take an hour to change angles, and then you film this other trick, and sure, maybe you film a line one time to have like 2 or 3 hits, but then you need to tell everybody that this is gonna happen now. So it's really like an organization thing and a communication thing.
Kind of getting ahead of it. Okay.
Exactly. And yeah, sure, sometimes if there's so many people, the pressure is on a little bit more. But that's the pressure project athlete is dealing with, same as like a contest athlete. Like they deal with the pressure on a contest. That's the pressure a project athlete has to deal with.
Yeah, you got to get it done.
Yeah. And I do prefer little sets, like winching with 3 people instead of 10. I don't know, because then you get it done and it's done, and then you can do something else, or you go to the next spot. If there's 10 to 15 people, it's like, oh man, just, I don't know, like everybody's just sitting around, like only 3 people do the work and 10 are just talking bullshit, and I don't know.
When you have too many people start not doing stuff, and it's like you want just the right amount of people for the amount of stuff that needs to get done.
Yeah.
Let's talk the one you filmed at the Bricks. I think it was wakeboarding closed wake park or whatever. Got a Patreon question, so if you want to submit questions to the people I'm having on here, make sure to join that Patreon. But this is from Todd Allen. I'm not sure if you know Todd. Yeah, but Valdosta. He's wondering, how close was that run-in with the boat? I'm sure you're familiar with, you ollie onto the boat and then ollie off. And
yeah.
One of them looked really close.
One of them, I actually dove in front of, like I kind of got caught on something like on the boat, and I dove right in front of the boat. Just, yeah, worst case scenario, really. And Lucas Sues, one of the cable owner's sons that we always work on the whole everything we do at the bricks, we do it with Lucas. And yeah, he was in the boat just underneath the like a blanket or a cover, and he had just the gas of the motor on full throttle, so he didn't see anything and he didn't know what was happening, so he was just on full gas, and I went like head first over the nose of the boat, and in my head I was just like, okay, just go as far down as you can. You are not trying to get up here at all. And luckily my board and nothing catch the motor or the propeller. So nothing happened. And then I think that was maybe even one of the first tries or attempts. And Lucas was really skeptical about this whole idea. But I was like, we got this easy.
That's the worst case scenario. I mean, if you fall in front, you can swim down, you're good.
Exactly. And that was also my thought, like, what should happen? Like, if anything happens, I'm trying to go down as deep as I can. And
yeah, you don't wear the Coast Guard approved vest for that one, huh?
Coasties. Oh my God. I went to ODUP these days and I had to wear the Coast Guard approved vest.
The big old bulky ones we got here in America.
They said you need 2 buckles, and then I grabbed the ones from upstairs, the rental ones, and they have 4 buckles.
Yeah, the ones they give you.
I tried to do some kicker tricks, some sevens and stuff. I did not get that handle. It's like half a meter more radius to actually grab around yourself.
I actually do want to talk about that in a second. But how many tries was the tire shot? So when you go through the tire,
the tire shot. I mean. The tire shot was really that we did not plan anything for the video. So we said, okay, it's COVID, or it was COVID, things starting to open again. So we want to make this video where we show the bricks are open again and people can come there and ride. But prior to that, we kind of had time to film. So we just kind of went in, quarantine there, and hung out there for like 2 weeks or so and filmed this. And yeah, we didn't have any plans of like what we want to do. So we kind of started like with this and that, and that's how good ideas kind of evolved to like be there and see whatever they have on like their yard and stuff. And then we walk over the yard and I was like, what's about that tire? And I just like go in it, just stand in it, and it was like quite small. I had to like really get as small as possible to make it in there. And I look at that and I was like, you guys think I could jump through this? And everybody looked at me and was like, yeah, right. I don't think so. Let's look for something else. So we kind of forgot about the idea for a couple of days. But then I was like, we kind of need like this. Yeah, we did do a couple cool things, but
something that really sticks out.
Yeah, something we just still have to do. And in my head, I knew the tire was really small, but I was like, let's do the tire. And everybody was like, okay, let's try it. So we put it on the tower and like we hit it with a winch. But other than that one time trying out how big the tire is, I wasn't even trying to how big it was again. Like I just knew I have to tail grab through it because this is the way I get the smallest. That's all I did. Like, and then like the first 2 tries, I think so a few times I went right next to we put the kicker on the side. So I went over the kicker a few times just to kind of know how high we have to put the tire. And then when it was go time and I put the handle through the kicker at the tire, I think I went like first go through it, but like mid-air I let go the handle because I was kind of scared to catch and get pulled weirdly into the tire. But then I think after that I just did it like 4 or 5 times. After
it was easy.
It was quite easy. I 1 or 2 times I like hit my helmet like very lightly on it, so it would kind of start bouncing around. But all in all, it was pretty chill. And I did it like 4, 5, 6 times. I don't even know anymore.
It's pretty sick. That was a great shot. That's one of those ones where it like jumps out at you and you're like, I wasn't expecting that at all.
I think I might even tried like a tail grab back one, but it was like, well, the tail grab back one looks like, it doesn't look as good as the tail grab. So we kind of just used the tail
Well,
grab.
the cool part, I've talked to a lot of people about this, and like, if you hit a really, really big rail on a snowboard, like some crazy kink rail, and you 50-50 it, it's like, that was awesome. You rode the whole rail. Like, you don't need to do a front one out at the end to like
make it
harder or something.
Yeah, make
like,
it more technical.
The cool part was that you did the rail. The cool part was that you went through the tire. Like,
Yeah.
cool, you could do a back one, but that's not the cool part of the trick. In terms of all these Red Bull videos, how does the team and you and everybody measure success of them? Is it, view count, or do they have all these sort of technical aspects of it?
Yeah, like nowadays it's definitely view count. So this Frozen Wake Lake project that we did this February, I think like Red Bull told me that we have in general like there is not even a project out yet. We only put social media stuff out. But on social media we have like 110 million views. All in all, like all the channels
From that
all the
Frozen
platform.
one.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
From that Frozen Wake Lake project. But 110 million views. If you think about how many people 110 million people are, it's a lot. And they're like, we are happy. There is gonna be a documentary about it coming out in October, November on Red Bull TV. But that's just gonna be a drop on a hot stone. How do you say that?
Drop in the ocean, like
Drop
a small.
in,
that works too.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
there's several.
Drop
of
in
those.
the ocean.
A documentary about
The whole project.
the Frozen
Like,
Wake.
Frozen Lake Wake. How we came up with the idea, how the building process was, like how it was to be in like minus 20 degrees, wakeboarding in like 1 degree Celsius cold water. Yeah, like all this, like a 20-minute documentary.
Okay.
So now everybody's only seen the Instagram videos, photos, TikToks. I don't know. It was like in the news, I guess. But there wasn't a project. We didn't bring out a project yet. So I'm actually excited for this documentary to come out soon.
Okay. Yeah, looking forward to that. That'll be sweet. So,
But it's about reach nowadays.
Yeah.
I feel like back then it was really about, how cool the project is or how cool the video is. You more likely worked on this one project, on this edit. Now it's more about this TikTok and the Insta reel, but that's just that's
just the nature of the beast. That's what it is now.
Yeah, nowadays that's how it is. I love to watch like sick parts, but to have a sick part, you cannot just go to the cable and film a part. I feel like everybody who does that, that's not a part anymore. Like you could just, might as well just put it out on, I don't know, then you become a YouTuber and do it on YouTube. But they just don't work as good anymore. Like nobody watches a 5-minute part.
Well,
or
you
they watch it one time and then it's gone anyway.
Well, you see all that on Instagram all day, every day, no matter what anyway. So
Exactly.
it's like, unless you're doing something wildly different, like if you're doing like a Trent Stuckey video where it's like.
Exactly.
you're
Where
doing
it's like the
MVDs.
completely new tricks.
Yeah.
Like where you push the boundaries, but see another 270, and 270 out on a fun box.
It's been done a lot.
It's
I
been
see
done
it
a
every
lot.
day.
Quantity over quality at the moment.
For sure. And always the good quality stuff, though, it always finds a way, I feel like, to push through. Like it
sure.
always does. So it's
sure.
always worth the effort to do. Let's jump into X Games 2017. What's it mean as a European rider or just a rider in general to get an invite to an X Games like event?
I couldn't believe it. The moment I think Bill called me from Alliance and asked me if I want to be part of it. And when I got the call, I was in Florida at the moment. So like it was beginning of the season, end of April or whatever. I kind of spent, I don't know, like a month over here just in warm weather, starting the season. It's nice to wakeboard here. But I also think that was the only reason why I got an invite, because in the 1 or 2 years prior, like 2016 and 2015, I did spend a lot of time here. But just on my, like, I just wanted to hang out here. It's warm in the springtime, warmer than Europe in the springtime, warmer than Europe in the fall time. So I came here in spring, I came here in fall, and just hung out. Like, I connected with people, I socialized with people, I met the people from the magazines, and that was the only reason why I also got that invite. They kind of told Nico, like, I don't know, the years before that he would be the next European guy that they want to invite. But as Nico, like, he had just different things going on at that time, but he didn't travel to the States as much anymore. And yeah, a little bit of a dick move from them, I would say.
As in, they kind of essentially promised it to Nico. They kind of
promised it to Nico, essentially, like, gave it to me. But then, like, I didn't know it at the time, but I talked about it with him afterwards. It was kind of like, okay, you guys could have invited Nico as well, because he could have done so good as well.
Yeah.
And sure, but in the moment, I was stoked. I had the whole summer pretty much planned out. And then as I got the invite, they were like, okay, you have 2 months from now on. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to cancel everything in the next 2 months then. And then next minute, I call Stefan. He was really the first person I thought about. But in this time, I did a lot with Stefan, and I really enjoyed filming with him. So I thought he was the best bet on that. And he was also like, all right, let's do it. And from there, we kind of went with a mindset to win this thing.
Spoiler, you did.
with the invite, I was like, all right, we gonna win this thing. And so I called Stefan, and he was down, and he was also like, all right, Felix, but the only reason why we do this is to win. And then I called my best friend Lucas, who we couldn't have done it without. He was the winch operator for the whole thing. He was also, I called him and I was like, what are you doing the next 2 months? He was like, well, I have a few cutting jobs, but I can do it from the road. Let's do this. And you know that you're going to win. And that was just like, we were three guys that really wanted to win this. And we knew what we had to do for it, I feel like. And then it was 2 months of just maybe the nicest winch trip I've ever been on. Or like the most productive winch trip I've ever been on. Most of the winch trips are nice when they are productive, obviously. And they're not productive, they suck. Because
feels like a waste of time.
Yeah. But that one, every spot pretty much worked out. And the way we did it, we were 3 people in one car. We looked on Google Maps where we go next. I tried to find a spot. And then we were like, okay, this spot is next to this city. There is a cable like 50 kilometers away. Maybe we could stay at this and this guy. So we called them and we were like, hey, we're around. Can we stay at your place? And they were like, oh, yeah, sure, I guess. And so we slept on the couch for like 2 months. And it was nice, though. I loved it. And I'm still stoked that it worked out that way.
How does that budget come over? Is that in euros or in US dollars?
I think the first year we got $7,500 budget to film the whole thing. As we just traveled in Europe, or in Germany, basically, with one car and slept with friends, it was food for us 3, maybe sometimes a 4th person who took photos or whatever or helped out. Gas, food, maybe a hotel here and there, but
Nothing crazy.
and nothing crazy. So I think we spent maybe like $2,000. And then with Stefan, I said, whatever we make with this, we're just gonna split it. And then obviously Lucas, we gave a little bit of money to him as well because it wouldn't have been possible without him. And yeah, that's how I think we walked away with like $5,000 from the budget.
Well, you use that $5,000 to celebrate when you get the gold medal.
Pretty much. The first year I tried to stick to the 10% rule, but I couldn't. Actually, yes, we did. Here in Orlando, I spent because I had to fly here again for the award ceremony.
Yeah.
That night I think I spent like $800.
Attaboy.
But yeah.
So did you
I never
know-
spent that much money in a night.
Well, it's probably
Yeah,
pretty
but-
easy if you go to an expensive place somewhere, or you get a lot of people.
I was with Masi, and Masi was just ordering bottles.
Yeah.
I
can imagine he's pretty good at that stuff. Did you know when you flew back for the award ceremony that you won, or just that everybody had to be in the same place?
Everybody had to be in the same place. I didn't know anything. I didn't even see the other edits until then. So then we filmed the show, but we sat on that couch and they kind of filmed us watching all the parts and like reactions. And some of the videos were really good, but some of them were not that great either. So it was kind of random sometimes.
Which ones didn't you think were that great?
I don't want to say any names now.
There's probably smoke bombs and whatever going on.
Yeah, maybe.
Whatever. I mean,
The writing in all of them were really good.
you could see that there are very different visions of what people have ideas of a video part.
Exactly. And I also feel like, I don't know if you talked about that with Ty before. I think so. But like I feel like how the boat riders filmed their videos was really just like, okay, we want to film the craziest tricks. But they didn't think about like how to film this trick perfectly. So I don't know, like the way you film it, where you film it, like the scenario, the scenery,
Well, and you can get creative with boat riding still, because I don't know if you watch Scumline, where
exactly, like where you are in front of like a massive ship or whatever.
or you cut around some random buoy just in time and then do your trick, and it's like all these little things add up, and that's the point of a video part.
Exactly. And I feel like that's where, the boat videos were just not as, like you couldn't watch them as nicely as the winch videos, because the winch videos, every spot looks so different, and every spot is really refreshing to see. Maybe those are not the craziest tricks, and they're definitely not as crazy as, like, I don't know, Mike Dowdy's part in X Games part was insane. But it was trick after trick after trick on the same lake filmed in this 1 month. Most insane riding, visually just not interesting, unfortunately. But if he would have, exactly what you say, like do a little bit of different thing here, or film like in the early morning when it's sunrise, and then you just have to stick it when it's sunrise. If you don't land it in the 20 minutes of sunrise, maybe 30 minutes
tomorrow.
of sunrise, then it's tomorrow. And that is, I think, why the boat edits didn't work as well, and why there is no X Games anymore, because the boat companies were the ones that paid for the whole thing. And the second year, they actually invited me, and they were like, hey, we're going to judge differently this year. We want every rider to have every aspect of wakeboarding in it. So we want, if you don't have boat riding in it, the chances that you will win is really low. But there wouldn't have been, there wasn't 1 minute I thought about putting a boat trick in, because I don't know, it's not my thing.
I mean, to be honest, like, are you going to do anything revolutionary, like, for a video part on the boat?
Exactly. They said I could also just hit a wind spot with a jet ski, like it's wake.
Okay.
Or that's what they told me on the telephone. We we sent them the finished video like 2 weeks before the deadline. And then they called me and they were like, hey, are you sure you want to give us the video like this? Like, you don't have wake in it. Wake, boat, whatever. The video is really good. But we told you the
parameters of the video, or whatever, what we're looking for.
Yeah, or what the judges are gonna be looking for to select the best video, and it's gonna be wake, cable, winch. And I was like, the second year I was really like committed. I just want winch. Like, I don't even want cable in there anymore. The first year we had that one cable shot, where I went through. It was at night, filmed.
Oh,
at night,
yeah,
where I
yeah.
went
Was that the
through
bricks, right?
corrugated rail.
That's like cable, but I mean,
Different,
build
but
your
it
own
was
stuff.
on the
Yeah,
cable.
sure.
Yeah, but I was just like, on the phone when they invited me, I was like, yeah, I'll maybe do it. Or maybe I said I'd do it, but I knew already I won't do it. I don't know. It wouldn't have made sense.
Yeah.
It would have been retarded in my eyes if I would have put a boat trick in. Maybe now looking back, I don't know. No, Gunther had an amazing part. It was sick. He deserved to win.
Gunther won that one, right?
Yeah, Gunther
2018.
won that one. I got second. Ty got third. And we won fan favorite, though. So it was fine because we made the same amount than what Gunther made.
And it's the people's champion.
Yeah.
Okay, back to that first one. Were you worried? I guess it sounds like you weren't worried about the judges not fully understanding the technicality and gnarliness of winching. Was that across your mind at all, or were you just like, this is what we're doing?
Not 1 minute. Because, I mean, growing up, I saw what Shredtown did. And sure, as like an upcoming rider, you always think, like, you're really motivated and you think you can do better than the pros. And maybe those thoughts crossed my mind a little bit with Shredtown. When watching Shredtown. But then, like, starting winching, like, those were, like, I feel like that's the next generation is going to think like this. Like, why are they paid so good, and why do I don't get paid that good, but I do the same thing even better. And so for me, it was just like, I want to prove that I can do this and maybe even better. And that was my first ever winch part, I think.
Well, you did pretty damn good.
And yeah, but I don't know. I was just really motivated and I knew what I had to do, I guess. And it was at the right time, the right mindset that I got that invite. And yeah.
Got the dub. Thoughts on bringing back the cornrows?
Yeah, I'm actually down. Unfortunately,
it's pulling back a little bit.
It's
Okay,
pulling
let's
back.
keep that Red Bull hat on.
But my grandma always has a pretty face, leaves a lot of space.
That's a good sound. Never heard that.
But yeah, back then cornrows. I might. It was painful. I got them like a week prior the TV show because I was in London for Plastic Playgrounds. The practice was, I don't know, I didn't want to pay for practice or whatever. And I didn't want to ride that contest, really. I was there to hang out. And then I went to town just to see London. Never been there before. And I were with two friends. I think Alex Albach was there as well. And we met two friends from home. So we had a few beers in town. And then this one girl was like, oh, she wants to get a tattoo. So we find this tattoo shop where was an Afro shop above it. And I was like, well, she gets a tattoo and we have to wait for her. Maybe I get some cornrows for the TV show next week. And it was really, I didn't think about it. I just did it. But the moment the TV show was over, or the moment they walked into the house with the gold medal and the shooting was over for X Games, I straight up opened them because I had a headache for like a week.
They pull it back pretty hard, huh?
They pulled it back so hard. maybe that's why my hair is out
He
there
started
now.
yanking it all out.
But it was painful.
Oh man. Two specific tricks or clips from that 2018 part. One of them, it was like an up rail, and then you land in basically like a cul-de-sac of water, and it's like a closeout after you land, and you smack your head on the back of concrete. I mean, did you get knocked out from that at all, or was it pretty chill?
Nope. I was fine after. I did, after that hit, that was the make pretty much, because we were like, okay, I had the handle in my hands as long as I could, obviously.
Yeah.
We're gonna use this clip. This is the clip.
We're good.
We're good. I did try to drink a lot of water that day, but it wasn't that bad. Luckily, I had my helmet on, and that's something I wouldn't go winching without a helmet. Maybe I did it for formats.
I don't know.
I don't think so, actually.
I don't know if you did.
I always was surprised that Raph doesn't wear a helmet winching. And I did talk about it, but he's just a really aesthetic guy.
I'm very excited to talk to him one day about all that.
Yeah. I think maybe now he would actually. I don't know. But for me, it was winching is so unpredictable. And for me at the cable, a helmet just doesn't make sense. For me personally, I never used my helmet on the cable. And a lot of times the helmet makes crashes on a cable way worse than they were.
You wouldn't wear it on a boat either. So
exactly.
Same sense,
It's just way more impact if you wear this bucket thing. But winching, it's just concrete, and
rope can get caught on something, and you don't know.
think something slides, but it doesn't slide, and it's just, if you hit your head, you're dead.
Yeah.
So that's something where I never thought about not riding with a helmet.
Fair enough. So you knew that slam was going to happen when you were like, this is how this is going to go. I'm going to put my back up against this wall. And
no, I didn't. I didn't know it was going to happen, but I thought it was easy. I thought it was I don't know. It was like a 20-meter in run and a 20-meter out run.
Okay. 60 feet.
60 feet.
For the units.
Yeah, the in-run was not longer than the out-run. But that spot is really, is 10 minutes from Langenfeld Cable. And I drove by there, and I was just like, okay, this is a nice-looking spot. Let's hit it. The water was only this deep as well, so it was super easy to walk back and have this short of an in-run. You get on plane really easy. And then I didn't think about that wall at all. I was just
that's probably better.
Easy.
Yeah.
We got this. And it's not the craziest trick. It's a board slide. Board slide to Sevi.
But everything added up in that.
Just the location and everything.
Tightness of it.
It's fine for an easy trick. And then the back slam actually made the trick even better.
Well, I'm pretty sure it was edited to where it's that's a transition of the audio and the video. It's
exactly. It kind of goes to that drone shot.
Yeah.
Where everybody is whoa, what just happened? Did he just die?
Yeah.
But it was fine. I was completely fine afterwards. It was a heavy, my helmet didn't even split or anything.
Oh, all right. Yeah. Well, there you go. The other thing in that is the ender. So there's been a couple of clips there, but that huge spillway where it's zoomed in and then all of a sudden it zooms out and there's way more spillway.
Where I did the back one in and then just a cap
front
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one we went to as the ender, and it could have been the ender for my season, and that was really the mindset. I think we took a break for a week, and then we hit one bigger spot close to my place that I also hit with Raph for formats, and then I found that one on Google Maps, and I was like, oh yeah, this one is sick. We already have every aspect that we needed. We have rails, we have 1 foot, we have creative stuff. We kind of went like this. So we filmed one rail, and then we were like, okay, we don't need another straight rail. It doesn't make sense, but we need that one, which is perfect, or where I can do something good. but we needed something big. And as we get there, I was like, all right, this is perfect. So I'm going to do this. Had all these crazy ideas. Like I wanted to back one in, and then like, I don't know. I thought about back 3 down, or like switch back 3 down, cap 3 down, maybe cap 5 down. I don't know. I had all these crazy ideas. How it is on a winch spot. Like
I can do that. I can do that.
You start dreaming, and then first hit, I cap 180 down. I went straight back one in because I was like, okay, this one is the easiest part. I get it. Like I kind of ollie off, and I'm just like, oh my God, this thing is high. And then I think I did 4 hits on the 4th one. I landed it. The thing is, on YouTube, where everybody watched it, as I land, like this thing comes up where like you can press on the next video, so you don't really see the sketchy landing. And it is a make. It isn't like a butt check or anything, but I do like sketch to the back. I have to be honest.
It wasn't perfect.
It wasn't perfect, but it was as perfect as it gets on this height.
Okay. How tall do you think?
I think it was 5 meters, maybe 5.5, like 15 feet.
Okay.
15 to 16, 17
And how
feet.
fast do you think that winch was going?
Regular
speed?
Yeah,
Okay.
30, maybe a little faster, maybe 32. I don't know what that in miles is, but it's same as
Like 20
boat
maybe?
style.
Yeah, 2021 maybe, something like that. Yeah, quick question. What is the correct speed to go wakeboarding at a cable? In kilometers.
30 Ks. That kind of depends on the cable. On some cables, 30 is perfect, but on some, it's 32 or 33.
Okay.
It depends on the system, on the height of the towers, of the running cable, length of the ropes. It's I don't know. It's
Formula.
It's a formula that I wouldn't say there is this one particular speed. On some cables, it's 30. On some, it's 33.
Okay. I like this.
I definitely rather a little bit higher.
Definitely.
too
Always
low.
a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Well, you're not sinking. So we're talking about winching. Are there any rules to winching?
I don't think so. No, there's no rules. Everybody should do whatever they want to do or what they want to hit. For me personally, there's things I wouldn't do. For example, dry starts.
Not about it.
Not about it. I wouldn't build pools. I am at the point where I don't even want to put in a kicker anymore.
You just getting lazy or what?
Yeah, maybe. But maybe. But I do enjoy watching people hit a spot as natural as just naturally. I like that a lot more than a shitty looking kicker that just doesn't fit into this scenario.
Yeah.
Um
There's just not a lot of natural spots in wakeboarding though. At least in America.
yeah, there is. There is. You just have to find them.
All right.
Or get creative. And I mean, I'm stoked if somebody like builds a little bumper. If you go on the grass and have a bumper, I don't know, like a pellet kicker or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you drive around with your
It's a pain in the ass.
with your massive truck, you already have to bring the winch, like carry the winch for like a kilometer to the spot. And then you still have to pick up the kicker and bring it there too.
Anchor it.
Anchor
tie it
it.
down.
I don't know. And then for me personally, that is too much. For me, it's already the effort of winching is so much effort. Like you need the right crew. Everybody wants to ride. It is already an effort, and then putting a kicker in, I don't know. I do it if the spot calls for it, but I rather look for spots that
Don't need
are
it.
hittable just how they are naturally. Yeah. And dry starts, I don't know. I feel like wakeboarding is about starting in water and landing in water. So I don't see the point of a dry start.
Okay. Interesting, but there are no rules. That's just
There are no rules.
That's,
Yeah, that's my opinion.
that's how you do it.
Exactly. That's
Okay.
how I do it. I don't want to say you will not see me dry start, but most definitely you won't.
Okay.
There's that one shot in formats, for example, where I kind of started on top of like a little. I got pulled down a drop, and then I go up a grass ledge, and then or a grass bank, and then I hit a concrete ledge. It was a pretty easy spot, but I don't know if you consider this as a dry start or a dry pull in.
Do you go? I feel like a dry start isn't.
It was just a dry start, basically. Okay. But I wouldn't go dry start to rail.
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
Don't have a lot of control doing that stuff.
Yeah. But like, I don't know, Gibby or whatever, like whoever does that. Like a lot of people do it. For me, I wouldn't consider it as a spot. If I would go with them on the spot and they want to hit that, I would pull them. I wouldn't want to hit it.
Kids are hungry though.
Yeah, it's good.
I think it's good.
Be more hungry. Bring out more winch stuff. I'm stoked to see more winching. I hope to see more winching.
I think with the advent of the electric winch, hopefully that's kind of. I mean, you just had a wakeboard street jam. Run through that real quick.
Yeah, street jam was sick. I was really skeptical in the beginning just because winching does take long, and I know what they were trying to do. So just like this, having this jam format like it is in skateboarding or snowboarding, it didn't work out that it's like this party, everybody drinks beer and hangs out and parties and it just cheers for everyone. And it's like one rider after another. It was more like we hung out at this one spot, like the whole crew, I don't know, 40 people, and we just filmed. So you had like 1.5 hour session with 3 other people, and then you just go. But people would bring the ropes back, cheer you on. Everybody filmed each other, and then the next guy brought the winch back, and it was sick. It was a vibe. And
it looked cool. I was tuning into some of the live streams. It looked like a lot of fun.
It was amazing. I think it was a full-on success, and I got proved wrong for being skeptical about it, which I'm stoked about.
Yeah.
Because they put in so much effort. Maddie, Juanca,
TB, Terry Bailey.
Terry actually, like, he hustled.
He always does, dude.
He hustled, and what's his name?
Who?
Glenn? No, not Glenn. Oh my god, this is embarrassing.
Yeah, this is rough for you right now.
It's rough. They were 4. Thank you to all of them for making it. It was amazing.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And there's a video coming out probably at Yard Sale, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think on Friday they're gonna premiere it. It's
Sweet.
gonna be sick.
So was that for that project? That was like the goal was to kind of take over social for a little bit and then.
Exactly. I think
Sick
nowadays, obviously, it's social.
Yeah.
Social first, because that's where the people
So everybody lives.
consume it.
Yeah.
And now the after movie, obviously, and hopefully a rerun next year.
Hopefully that would be awesome.
I think
Get some different spots
they're trying to do it. This year they didn't have permission for one of the spots.
So I heard they didn't get permits for anything, right?
Nope.
Okay.
Nothing. We didn't get kicked out of one spot.
Okay, so
and it was like there were 40 people hanging out.
Yeah.
On bike paths, on I don't know.
Well, you had some people in high vis vests, so you're good.
For sure.
That helps.
But we definitely blocked people. And with a lot of people. Yeah. And there was music, and I don't know. We were like, sure, you're gonna be friendly when you do this, but I thought we are gonna get kicked out at the first spot.
Yeah.
But it worked out well. They did talk to all the neighbors and did make
people around there.
Yeah. To make sure they are stoked on it, and did talk to all of them.
Let them know what's going on.
Yeah.
So that would never happen in America without permits and stuff. So compare your two, before we jump into formats, compare your two winching experiences of, you've done a lot in Europe. Probably not as much in America, but enough in America to get an understanding of the culture here.
Yeah.
How are the two different approaches when you go winching?
I feel like in the States, I personally was more afraid about snakes and gators than anything else. I didn't think about getting kicked out or whatever. Like, even if we got kicked out, it was like the cops came. They most of the time didn't know what we were doing anyways, and they kind of realized we did a sport or whatever, and we are not gangsters or whatever, and come up with the guns. So it was always chill in the States as well, other than the dangerous animals there is here. That was my biggest concerns.
Scared of
Gators and snakes.
Okay. But besides, I mean, would you say you get kicked out more in America than you would in Europe, or is it not really crazy
No,
different?
it's not really crazy different. Same. Sure, maybe sometimes. No, it's the same. In Germany or Europe in general, you do get kicked out. If you go to a big weir in the middle of the woods, nobody's going to say anything. If you go to a rail in the middle of the city, of course, everybody's going to, somebody's going to complain. Somebody's going to love it. But
it's just a matter of time until someone complains.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you do get kicked out in Germany or anywhere in Europe as well.
Get kicked out everywhere.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I mean, that's kind of the nature of the beast. Snowboarding, skating, you always get kicked out. You're
exactly
going against the grain.
And I feel like skating is even worse because it makes so much noise. Like, as soon as you do an ollie, it's annoying for the people that live there.
Yeah. Board goes flying, hits a car.
Yeah, exactly. And winching, especially with the electric winches, most of the people don't even realize something's happening on the water there because they don't look at the water most of the time. So mostly it's fine.
Yeah, now that you got the electric winches, doesn't even make a sound hardly. Let's talk formats. Mm-hmm. So this is right kind of in that same time frame of X Games. I think there were some mutual clips from formats and X Games in a couple of people's parts, Gunther and yours. Might want to fact check myself on that, but
I don't. Mine definitely not.
Okay.
And I don't think Gunther is either. But Gunther, we both did go back to certain spots.
Okay.
Or two spots that we hit for X Games and formats. But we did different tricks on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, how did the opportunity for formats come about with Taylor and the crew?
I met Taylor, I think, at Shredtown's Jamboree, first time, I believe. And he was a filmer back then for Alliance. And I don't know, he gave me this dad cam there. And I really enjoyed filming with it. So, I don't know, we got along really well. And a year later or so, he just introduced me to his movie project idea. And we started the whole thing. It was really fun to work with them on it. Sure, it was to work on a full video project is always hard, especially for the filmer. I don't know. He did not, if you want to make a full-length video, I don't think any of the full-length producers made any money with it. Neither Taylor or Andy or whoever made this. Especially when it's not only involved with boat. I'm not sure about the boat videos back then, if they made money, but it's really about passion and if you want to do this. And but I got to film with Raf for the first time, I think, for this project. Or actually, Rathi and I and Brandon, this Canadian photographer, we went on a winch trip a year prior format's beginning just to film. I don't know. Raf called me and was like, "What are you doing in the next 3 weeks?" I was like, "Well, I don't know. I'm home. I'm working." Back then at CZ Tech. I don't know. Well, what are you up to? And he's like, "I want to go winch. you want to come over to Canada? And I was like, well, yeah, sure. I'll look into flights. And then I look into flights and I fly to Canada like a week later. And then went winching with him for like a week, 10 days or so, in Canada and like around Toronto. What's that big lake called?
In like a Great Lake?
Yeah. Like around
Like Ontario, like
Ontario.
Oh,
yeah.
Ontario. Okay.
Somewhere there.
Yeah.
I don't know where exactly we
Is this
were.
when you guys hit that like drop ledge and you did a front lip on it and then he did something else, or is this different?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
No, wait. Drop ledge.
It's a ledge and then a big drop. I think
Oh, yeah.
you front lipped it. I don't know.
And he ollied the whole thing.
Yes.
I did like a tail grab nose tap and like a cap to 70. He did an ollie over the whole thing, which was insane actually. And he did maybe like a tail press back three or whatever.
He did some form of 360. I can't remember now,
but yeah, that one was filmed on that trip, and I think that was actually my first ever winch trip. That was my first ever winch experience, full on like proper winch experience. And then the year after, I filmed for X Games, and then RAF, or like in between, we filmed here in Florida a little bit. And then after X Games, they came over to Europe or to Germany, and we filmed there for like 10 days or so.
Okay.
But only winching. We did go to some cable parks in between, but
it was winching trips.
I only wanted to winch. I think we had a few clips from Area 52 back then, but I think it's only one or two clips.
Is it where you go on the grass and hit the tree and come down? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What's it like filming with winching, specifically with RAF?
I think actually, like with RAF, for me personally, it was always the best experience because we both have our I guess we both have our vision of what we want to do. As I say, like I don't even want to hit a kicker, and like sure, back then I maybe didn't say it out loud, but I feel like Raph was the guy who kind of knew I was this kind of person to ride things naturally, or that's what I prefer. And I don't know, like him and me, I feel like we were a really good winching team, and it just worked because we knew what to do on the spot. Like we get out of the car, one guy grabs the winch, the other guy straight up went rub rigging the ledge or whatever, waxing the ledge, preparing. And it was like this nice working together.
You're not even talking to each other, but
without even talking to each other. Where, I don't know, a lot of times when I go winching now with like random people, it's like, okay, you check out the spots or the spot, and then I explain them like, okay, you do this, and I do this. And then I kind of have to check back.
Yeah.
So with RAF, it was just like, okay, this is happening. And
a lot of nonverbal communication going on.
And I think that's how winching is the most fun as well, because
it's easier.
Know it's working, it's easy, it's not like energy that is just used for
wasted
nothing or wasted. Yeah.
So on that trip with this might have been that same trip, but you had to go through customs between US and Canada, I think.
Yeah.
With Raf and Rathy. What is your real name?
My real name is Hans Felix Georgii.
Okay. Just go by Felix though, huh?
Yeah. My dad's name is Hans Peter, and my grandpa's name is Johann, but Johann is kind of, I don't know, the short name for Johann is Hans, I guess. Everybody calls my grandpa Hans. So my dad's name is Hans Peter, and then my mom was like, oh, our son needs to have the name of his dad or whatever. So they said Felix Hans, But that kind of sounds weird, right?
Yeah, Hans Felix sounds.
And then
more
they were
normal.
like, well, Felix Hans does sound weird. We call him Hans Felix, but Felix is the name everybody calls him. So nobody ever calls me Hans. Everybody I tell this is like, oh, I'm just going to call you Hans from now on. And sure, maybe some people kind of stick to it, but most people don't.
It's been Felix for too long. You
yeah,
can't,
exactly.
But I'm going to call you Hans. Got a few more questions on formats here. Whose part from that movie was your favorite?
I mean, Raf's was incredible. I really like Nick's. I don't know, everyone's.
Yeah.
I thought it was sick that everybody just. I feel like that was a really, really nice crew where everybody did what they wanted to do and showcase. I mean, Raf obviously with the banger section. Gunther as like the newcomer and just killing it behind the boat on the winch. Nick just being super creative and like having his own style. And then, I don't know, Dylan is just
super smooth.
The biggest smooth operator ever. And
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's... Yeah, I think it was a really nice combination from riders, and I feel like it didn't get the whole movie didn't get the attention it should have gotten, unfortunately.
You know why that is, or
I don't know. Maybe I don't know really. Maybe we should have put out more on social. It was already a social time where a lot, especially like Taylor, didn't want to put out anything on social.
Because that's the old school way, right? Of like
exactly, but it would have been the time, I guess, where we would have had to show as much as, not everything on social, but a lot on social already. If we would have put out like 30% of the movie on social, then people would have bought it more, probably. I don't know the numbers. Maybe it was okay or it sold okay, but I feel like most of the people don't even know about it anymore.
They don't. I definitely agree with that it didn't get the love it deserved. I'm kind of been on a mission for my entire life since that movie came out to get people to buy it, because it's like, I think it is the best wakeboarding film ever created. Like I think so. I mean, it's my favorite to rewatch. The soundtrack, the writing, all the cinematography, everything is so good on it. And it would be hard for a movie like that to get the love it deserved, but I think you're spot on there that it didn't.
And I feel bad saying this, to put more out on social, because social is so fast living and it's not gonna be in people's minds anymore in the next day probably. But it is what the people consume all the time. Every second they scroll through their phone, through Instagram, through TikTok, through YouTube Shorts or whatever, YouTube. And I guess I'd say that because I've been on this social media coaching week with Red Bull just a few weeks ago. And they kind of brainwashed me with that. But it does make so much sense. Like,
it's just the reality.
It's just the reality.
It really is.
And there is no print anymore. And if you have a movie, you want to show the world the best scenes out of the movie on social to make them buy the movie. And we kind of kept all the bangers in the movie and kind of showed some B shots, but not what you get to see in the movie. And I think that could have or should have been more, but back then I didn't think like this either.
Yeah, well, I feel like it was a little bit of a different time social media wise back then. Like, there were still projects that were coming out that were kept quiet in other industries, snowboarding and skating. But nowadays, that shit's going to end up on social media anyways, whether it's some bullshit Instagram page that just rips your clip and doesn't even give you any credit. So you might as well. Like,
you might as well use it yourself and not let anyone use it.
Exactly.
Or anybody else.
It's going to happen anyway, so get on board.
Yeah. It is
sucks,
what it is. It sucks, but it's I don't know. It's also an opportunity, I guess, to grow this sport that is really small still in a way where everybody knows about it, because the sport is practiced in pretty much every country around the world, and it is quite big, and most of the people know about it, but it's still like so small, and especially the scene is so small. So might as well use the media platforms that are there now, that are the biggest. They're bigger than any newspaper, or probably even bigger than TV channels, and get it out there. If we cannot do it anyhow else.
Yeah, you're right, and it's like the scene is really small in wakeboarding in terms of the people who are creating like the crazy winch content and all the crazy riding. It's a pretty small-ish pool of people, so you've got to get the most amount of eyes on it as you can. And
exactly.
The easiest way to do that is to pull out your phone and upload it. So it is what it is. You got to move with the times, I guess.
Exactly.
Concrete. Not a lot of people press on concrete. Why do you want to press on concrete?
Because it's possible. It's possible. It's not easy. I feel like just pressing on a winch is super hard. Like, it doesn't matter if it's metal or concrete, but it's hard. That's why I want to do it, because it's a challenge.
Use the butter in that butter stick.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, and nose presses on cables is just, it's amazing. It's my favorite trick ever. But to do a proper nose press on a winch is just the hardest thing ever.
Unbeatable.
Yeah.
Taylor, I was talking to him a little bit about formats, and he mentioned a spot in Augusta where a lawyer was at a spot, and he mentioned that he just saw a dead body there.
Yeah, that was the spot I was talking earlier, where I grass slid in and kind of dropped down. I was talking about the dry start.
Yeah,
or the dry start, I guess, into a spot. Yeah, that was amazing.
Did that spook you a little bit, or was it like whatever?
It did. I feel like I didn't even, like, my English wasn't good enough at that time to actually realize in the moment. And then they told me afterwards again, after I got the clip.
That's good they waited.
And then I was like, oh my God, why do we do this? Like, he was like, yeah, guys, I think they pulled out a dead body like just a couple weeks ago out of there. But yeah, I feel like I didn't
really know at the time.
Yeah, I lost in translation a little bit.
Yeah, that's a benefit right there. You know, English as a second language. When Raf hit his head in that, it was kind of like a handrail type thing, and he fell in the middle. You were the first one to him after the slam.
Yeah.
How bad did you think that could have ended up during the time?
I feel like he did it really, like, the way he fell was really smart and not like full on head on concrete. Sure, it was a heavy hit, but he kind of rolled over very well. I wasn't too worried about him. Just because he's the GOAT. He will always land on his feet.
He's a cat.
Yeah.
He's good. Any other close calls during that movie? I mean, there's like undertows of waterfalls you can get caught under. I mean, was there anything that wasn't shown in that movie that you guys had? Some pretty spooky, scary.
One, Raf's ender, he does a back five from a concrete ledge into this spillway thing. And that day there was a lot of water flowing. And I feel like on the shot you see it also, that it's like super rough. And I thought, like, I hit the same spot, just like down the wear, like how I kind of hit it for X Games as well, just with a different trick. And then he hit it on this side, but that's where the water was flowing. I thought that was really sketchy, and that's also where everybody should be really careful with when there's current on wears. I don't know, you never know what's underneath the water, so you don't want to get sucked in somewhere. So yeah, I hope everybody's staying safe out there. But that was a moment where I was like, maybe it's a little bit too heavy, but not for the goat.
Not for Raph, and it's the classic Raph. I think if you watch the Raw, he's like using his helmet to get the concrete wet, and then he does a couple tries with the helmet, and then he's like, I got this.
Yeah.
Ditches the helmet. I mean, not recommended at all by any means, but like you said, he's the GOAT.
He's the GOAT.
He could do it.
But I don't think. Well, all the spots here in Florida, obviously with the gators and snakes, it's always a close call. If you see a gator like swimming next to the rail or whatever, and then like you try to like scare it off and it swims off, but then you like jump in that water.
Yeah.
And there's all like signs all over the place like, don't swim here because here are gators.
You just got to bring Reed Hansen with you, and so he can catch all the gators for you and take care of them.
But I feel like that was a close call every time we went to winching.
Random question: has Manu Rupp ever run through Munich naked?
Who?
I don't know if I'm saying it wrong. Manu Rupp.
Manu Rupp.
Manu Rupp. That was terrible.
Manu. He might have. I haven't seen him.
Are you sure you didn't see him run through Munich naked? It was a long time ago. I'm talking 2010, maybe earlier.
Oh my God. I might did actually. Wow, that is long. I think, yes, that happened. But I think we were visiting Dominic Gurs at that time.
Yeah, I think so.
And how the fuck do you know about this? I didn't even remember this.
What was the story behind that, or do you not even remember? Too long ago.
So, I mean, I know Dominic Gurs since, I don't know, like since they shot 4 Impact at my home cable park. And that was the year I started to ride every day. So I might have been like 13 or so. And then Dominic Gurs came to our cable, and Manu, he was the guy who took me everywhere. He went to different cable parks every weekend. He just turned 18, so he had a car and a driver's license. I was 13. I didn't get anywhere. But Manu took me everywhere. So he was like a bigger brother for me. And so we went to Dominic Gurs' place, to Munich, rode Aschheim, Dominic's home cable park. And then, I don't know, stayed for like a night at their place. And I don't know, I was 13. They wanted to party at night, I guess. And I just stuck around, I guess, and was the grommet. And I don't know how he ended up naked.
Lost a bet or something.
Probably lost a bet. But I would really like to know how you know about this.
I mean, I can't reveal my sources, so we're just gonna have to let that one be. Let's talk some sponsors. So I think it's interesting and kind of worth talking about that. So you and Nico were good friends growing up. You guys were super tight. Nico's been with Liquid Force for a super long time. Mm-hmm. It's interesting to me that you also were able to get a pro model with Liquid Force, just in the sense of you're kind of in the same area. I know Germany is a big place with a lot of cables, but was that something you were thinking about?
It is interesting, yeah. And like as I said earlier, my first wakeboard sponsor was O'Brien. I rode for them. I had like a 2-year contract, but it was just like...
We're talking money?
No, we're talking product. But you still... They give you a contract. You could probably get out of it easily, but...
Makes you feel good you signed something.
Yeah. I was 15 back then. 15 to 17. I rode for O'Brien. But then I already knew the Süß family who run like the European distribution for Liquid Force quite well. They own Langenfeld. So they do Liquid Force, they have Langenfeld, they have the wave pool now, and I don't know, I kind of knew them from like events there, and they always been nice to me. And then so they asked me if I want to ride for Liquid Force, and I obviously said yes, because I really like the boards. Everybody from my home cable, like P2 for example, or Patrick Fierbe, like everybody at my cable was riding Liquid Force. So then that's how I got on Liquid Force Germany, and so I did like a few years, just like the German program, where I did the demo days or whatever, let people try, test our stuff. And then with Nico already being so involved into like the American international scene, he was everywhere pretty much by then already. Nico started this cheer with Nico thing, and I was kind of the person he always traveled with. That's how I kind of got attention in like the international scene as well. So I decided to go to America for the first time, and due to my apprenticeship back then, I could afford it just myself. Like I made my own money each month, and yeah, I didn't even think about asking anyone. Like I just wanted to go there and see and meet the people, and yeah, Nico said that would be a cool move if I did that. And yeah, that's how it kind of started. And I met some people from Liquid Force, and met Grace back then, the team manager. But also, I don't know, Don Wallace, who runs the company now. And that's how we kind of got to a point where I got a little bit of budget. But I got to a point where I didn't really get much from them, but every other brand really wanted me to ride for them. And we're talking pretty much every other brand. Hyperlight, Ronix, Humanoid back then really wanted me to ride for them.
Slingshot?
Slingshot was...
Connolly?
No, Slingshot wasn't really into it because they had Stefan, and they were like, oh, we don't really have the budget for you.
Yeah.
We would really like to have you on the team, but I feel like they just couldn't afford, like they probably knew that I didn't get anything, but they knew that
They couldn't give you much more.
Yeah, everybody who else wanted me on their team probably would start paying me like okay money. And so I talked to Liquid Force, obviously, and I talked to Hyperlight and Ronix quite. Hyperlight, Ronix, and Humanoid a lot. Like those were the competitors to Liquid Force. But they were all pretty much on the same thing. Like
there was no outlier of
there
like
was
this
no-
is going to be an easy
yeah.
decision to go.
Yeah, and that's why I did stick with Liquid Force. And they were talking about a pro model, but I kind of felt like I'm not at that point yet.
You didn't deserve one yet.
Like in my eyes, I didn't deserve it at that time yet. And then like a year later, after X Games, I was like, wow, yeah, maybe I'm at the point now. Like, I just won X Games, so maybe. Or then we already talked about it because I had that X Games invite, and it kind of was the right timing to talk about next year's pro model. And Bywake, they also were like, hey, why don't we do like a Bywake limited Liquid Force Felix edition? That's how it kind of started, I would say. And because then I kind of, the whole I'm standing in Nico's shadow thing was already gone. In the beginning, those were my thoughts. Like
You kind of broke out of it.
But with like just going to the States by myself, and just doing my own thing, I broke out of it, I think. And
I mean, you do have a very different style from Nico.
exactly,
as well.
but I definitely owe him a lot, and he was the guy that probably gave me the right hints what to
Advice.
do what to do at the right time, like
Cool.
especially in like the early days.
Good guy, Nico.
Yeah, man. Thanks, Nico.
So your board is, I would say, different than a lot of the other boards in the lineup. You watch guys like Joe Battleday just do crazy nose presses on your board. So when you were designing your board, did you kind of look at all the other boards in the line and go, I kind of want to do something a little bit different?
It's maybe different than what people think how this whole board thing came up to. So I was riding the FLX before. I rode the Deluxe Henshaws board first. Then I started riding the FLX because I kind of thought it might be better to ride a board where that doesn't have a name on. Sure, I didn't think I would deserve having the name on a board, but I did think the chances are higher if I ride a board that doesn't have a name on. And those boards also need attention. So the FLX was a cool board. It was really flexy. It almost had my name on it already. I don't even know why they didn't give me the FLX, because the FLX has my name on it.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And then they did already come out with the butter stick. So the first 2017 X Games, I rode that wooden black butter stick. That was already on the market, and that was not my pro model. And then the year after, it was my pro model though. So they were just like, hey, you ride this board, you are the most known rider on this board right now. This is yours now. But the way, like from the first moment I rode that board, I was like, okay, I don't want to ride any other board anymore. Because due to the super soft tip and tail, I don't know, it's what I want. Like,
Felt good, right? It felt right at home when you hopped on it.
And yeah, we did talk about changes within the last years, but I don't even want to change anything because it is a good board and people seem to like it. Like, sure, people don't like it, but a lot of people really like it. So I think it's a really nice board in the line. It's not the softest. Like, there's softer boards, but if you use it the right way, it is a fucking soft board.
Yeah.
But it's soft in the right spots and locations.
I have to jump on one. So speaking of board, what is your setup size?
I used to ride 148 Butterstick Pro. I just jumped on a 152 and I do like it. I jumped down on a 148 just for this trip now because my 52 I was fixing, or I was gluing. And the glue wasn't dry yet. So I jumped down. Like, the only board I had at home was a 48. And so I'm riding a 48 right now. I did a start at ODUP 2 days ago, and I just fell. Because I kind of I tried to nollie start and then do the snake bite slap thing. I just dive into the water and fall.
Dude, once you go bigger, man, it's tough to go back. It's real tough.
Yeah, I think I'm going to switch to 52 now. And that combined with the 4D hook bindings.
What kind of angles we talking?
Plus 12, minus 12. Pretty basic. Don't really. I did think, or I did play around a little bit with lower angles, like 6'6", 6'9". I don't know. Also, kind of angle it, but in snowboarding, I do angle my bindings also for park. I have plus 18, minus 9 or something. So it is
a little directional.
A little more directional.
Yeah.
Sorry. Wakeboarding, you do ride switch a lot more. And I don't know. 12-12 always felt good. I don't worry about it too much.
You super skinny, super wide in between?
No, on the 52, I would go finger wide outside because it has the tracks.
Yeah.
Finger wide outside of the inside. Not all the way in.
But just a little bit out.
Just a little bit out.
Okay.
Yeah. But I have to say, Butterstick is a different board with those 4D bindings. If I put on the 6X bindings, like the regular, it's not that board anymore. So if you try it, if you give it a try it with the 4D bindings.
This is the upsell. This is when you went to the Red Bull camp. This is the story of the upsell.
Yes.
Bumping you up to from the 6X to the 4D.
But it's crazy. And when they came up with the 4D thing, I was like, okay, this is just a selling point. I don't know. I'm also when it comes to stuff like this, I'm always more skeptical than
More
optimistic.
traditional, not
Yeah.
yeah. I'm like that too.
But I did jump on it, and it is a world different.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Let's talk Nissan. So they just give you a car every year, or what's up with that?
Yeah, the Peter, the guy that is our manager pretty much for Nissan. He's he used to organize those boat events in Germany. They were called I don't know, but they invited Watson and Parks, and it was like a pretty big boat event back in the day, and Nissan was already kind of involved back then. But he kind of got away from like the boat events because there is not really a boat scene in Germany anymore, and kind of realized like his kids also wakeboard really well, and he has this marketing budget for Nissan and doesn't want to give it to the next soccer club or whatever, and sees more potential in us spreading the word of nice cars in the wake scene. And they gave me the car. They gave me just a new car, like a camper van, full kit, pop-up roof, bed up there, bed in the bottom, kitchen, sink, fridge, everything. And I will have this for the next 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah, it's pretty sick.
So
Like, sure. So they pay my leasing pretty much.
okay.
And but I pay the leasing, they pay me for the leasing. So it's like an official thing. But I do pay for my insurance. But
Okay.
I don't know. It's okay.
It's awesome in Europe. I feel like the camper scene is like huge. You can just drive to a park,
It's amazing.
camp.
It's
go to the next
it's
one.
perfect. For the summertime, it's my living room. And like you always have everything. I can take my wakeboard, my wake skate, skateboard, winch, and have it with me. And if I want to chill and don't want to talk to people at the cable, I go in my van and sleep. It's the perfect thing.
Damn. If the vans are rocking though, don't come and knock on Felix's van.
Yeah, no.
4 years, dang. That's quite the deal.
Yeah,
That's sick.
it is. And like, sure, we do, like, we just had like a kids camp they sponsor, and like that's like stuff like this. They want us to be there, where Nissan is part of, and they do support events. Yeah, that's what when they want us to be there too. But this kids event is sick. They have like almost 100 kids there in one day. So like the morning is just beginner kids, so we don't have to coach them. From like noon on, it's noon until 6, where it's just one group after another that we coach. And then it's like this little contest where we judge them, but it's like 50 rippers.
Dang.
And we just, I don't know, we help
Everybody's having
them.
fun.
We help them, we write doubles with them, we film them, and have a good time. And it's really about just spreading the word, getting the hype out, and trying to support everything and everyone within the scene.
Good guy Felix, getting all the people on the water, helping them out.
Yeah, good guys Nissan.
Good guys Nissan. Yeah, that's true. Good point. I've got another Patreon question from Daniel Jarrett. So it's the brains behind West Rock Wake
Yep.
Park. What's your long-term vision for wakeboarding? So like what would you like to see improve? Anything like that?
Long-term vision in wakeboarding, obviously that it grows a lot bigger than it is what it is right now. Like, it would be amazing to see it, I don't know, to see it back in X Games, or to see it just in bigger, to see like the wakeboard events get bigger as well, so people know it more, so free riders and project riders can do more their thing, while contest athletes perform in their way. And I don't know, I just hope it gets to that point where yeah, people from like a little lower stage also can make money with it, because I feel like it's right now only the top dogs make money with it. And to get there for newcomers and like full on rippers, it's really hard. And most of them have to work a regular job. And yeah, most definitely don't end up in this position as a pro. So hopefully it'll get there. More money comes into this whole industry and gets pushed out to riders.
All right. I like it. What's the future for Felix?
That is a good question that I ask myself a lot. I just turned 30 like a couple months ago. And yeah, that's the time when you start thinking about it. As I did my apprenticeship, I could pay my house off at home already. I don't know. I have like this. I did this whole work thing before my wakeboard career and kind of tried to save myself in this term, so I'm not standing without like after wakeboarding. I'm not gonna be there without a job. So that's my backup plan. Plan B. Plan A, I'm still trying to develop. I don't know. I could see myself just getting into the wakeboard industry for whatever. I like the network I built up the last 15 years is probably better than anyone, any sales rep, any marketing dude in any company. Like I don't know. I've grown into this sport so much, so I think I could be a really worthy person to work for any wakeboard brand. Doesn't matter if it's wakeboards, cables. I don't know. I feel like I could be a good person for that. But as long as the wakeboarding thing works for me, I will try to do the best I can to stay a wakeboarder and enjoy my time on the water, I guess. And also like just get that stoke out. I don't know. For me, it's when I think back, it's like watching Nick Davies do his goofy TikTok stuff. I don't know, like having fun on the water, and that's what I wanna showcase with my wakeboarding. And yeah,
You do a good job with it.
I hope I do.
Definitely. You think you'll ever stop wakeboarding?
I don't think I will fully stop. I definitely think with more advanced age, it is the sport when you don't have to have that much time to ride anymore, it gets harder and harder on your body. Like this year, I did ride a lot and I feel very healthy right now. And every time I ride, I don't get sore anymore. Or like I could ride pretty much every day. As long as I don't send kickers every day, I'm fine. And I can keep riding every day. But I feel like the older you get, the more you have to like take care and not send it too hard anymore, and it wears out on it wears your body out. So I feel like at some point it's gonna get less wakeboarding, but not fully stop. Even P2, you might not know him. You should watch Impact. Impact the artist. So like, just to explain Impact real quick, every rider in Impact has like they're a different figure. So Nick Davies is the clown. Stefan Vollert is the fan. Andy Kolb is the kid. P2 is the artist. And P2 is the artist. And you will watch his part and he is an artist. Yeah, he kind of stopped wakeboarding after he kind of got dropped from Liquid Force and didn't have his pro model anymore. But like just 3 weeks or so ago, he asked me if I could come borrow a board because he wants to go wakeboard again. And he calls me and he's like, man, this was so fun. It's kind of weird your board doesn't have as much pop. And I was like, Man, my board does have a lot of pop. It's just you haven't been wakeboarding
Your
for the
old man
last 10
legs
years.
can't ollie.
But it's sick. Like, I don't think I will ever stop. Sure, it will get less, but as I can see with like P2 or other people that used to be pros, they're still all wakeboarding and
Good.
having fun.
Yeah, as it should be. Anyone else you want to thank? Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I guess thanks to everybody who supports me, makes my dream come true. It is a childhood dream that I'm living right now, and I am very thankful for everybody who kind of gave me and gives me that opportunity to live that dream. And yeah, thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on, Felix. I'm glad we could make this happen. For those who don't know, he's in town for Yard Sale 5, so this will come out after Yard Sale, but I'm sure there'll be some recap stuff. You can go watch Yard Sale. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. If you do want to see who the guests are early and you want to ask them some questions, definitely join that Patreon. You'll be able to get some more content and be able to see who's next. Other than that, thanks for coming on. Thanks everyone for listening. See you next time.
See ya.